All right, the players are getting ready to do that weird category. So it involves, being able to swap ROMs as fast as possible. So the players have had multiple different strats. Which one do you use, Mythical, to swap ROMs as fast as possible?
I've got the file explorer open on the side with all 6 ROMs, and I'm dragging and dropping with I think it's Control R to reset unlimited. So if it's from the same game, it's the Control R. If it's a new game, drag and drop. It is very silly that this is a part of this goal. You will lose time if you are slow changing games, and so it's a little goofy. But there's not many good solutions to this problem, and it's just kind of the way things are. So with a bit of practice, you can get pretty good at switching games quickly and efficiently.
All right, so Mega Man 2 is about to start, and yeah, I like the route, to be honest, that goes Gutsman into 5 Mega Man 2 bosses, into one of each 3, 4, 5, and 6, just because it has less mashing and movement overall. Starting with 3, you have the sliding, and with 4, you have the charge buster, meaning that it's even more complicated to speedrun, in my opinion.
Yep, there was the exact same thought process behind my route, except I didn't like one of the options in Mega Man 2. You've got Bubble, Flash, Quick, and Metal are all pretty good options, but the other one that people are doing is Air in that level, and Air scares me. There's a lot of empty ground, and with some very careful damage boosting, you can get through that level. It'll still be faster than most other choices. The boss fight can go extremely quickly, so there's a lot of merits to it, especially if your name is Metalo and you're able to do all the insane precise jumps on that sequence, manipulating the platforms and all that. I didn't want to bother with any of it, so I found a level which is the same level that Onlooker has found here in Cutman to be my fourth optional Robot Master. So I think Onlooker will be taking the same route that I do. So it is pretty cool that I've found a kindred spirit here in the Cutman, Gravity Man. Oh wait, no, they are going to Flame instead of Wind at the end. Probably, actually, that is. They just feel that they can handle that really difficult level. So everyone has their own thing. Really, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 4 different routes. Probably very similar, but probably 4 different routes from these 4 players.
Probably, I don't know what Quick Fireman and Q Shadow are going for, but the Amon question is obviously the biggest one here, because it's so easy to die on certain levels in Mega Man. Even if they're faster in theory, if you're going to die, you're going to lose a lot of time. Onlooker is having so much trouble grabbing that ladder here. Sadly, losing a lot of time, but a lot of health as well. And you want to be healthy to in any part of Mega Man, so you are able to survive the boss fight. A very nice thing between Quick and Fireman.
Oh, nice. Look at the synchronization here. They're using a unique trick from Mega Man 1 of pressing select will kind of let certain timers count down while the game is paused. That, or it just completely removes them. I'm honestly not sure because they are so short. But you can basically have multiple projectiles hit Gutsman that normally wouldn't, because he would be in iframes. So you kind of pause to get rid of those iframes, let all your projectiles hit. You need to be pretty precise with your select button in order to make it work. Shadow in a tough situation.
No!
Oh, Gutsman! He could have jumped up. He could have jumped away, but he jumped forwards, and there's just kind of no way to deal with it sometimes. So didn't have the health, is going to take a very early death, which can kind of affect your mindset a little bit. Looks like Onlooker is also in a similar situation here on Cutman.
So we didn't take so much time to talk about the leaderboard in between games, but obviously Quick with 211 points is way ahead after 3 games. Q Shadow and Fireman are super close together around the 75 points. So now it's considering it's so tight compared to PE and PBs, compared to with those 3 runners. Any mistake, any death, any time you're going to lose is major, and you don't want to lose time just so early in Mega Man 1 through 6 here. Quick is going through Quickman and Fireman is in Metalman, as well as Cute Shadow. Looks like the route for Fireman and Cute Shadow are super close, but the order in which you defeat bosses in the same game doesn't matter at all, because you are resetting between each boss, so the weapon you are saving is not going to matter too much. If you were to keep your weapons, going for Metalman first would be very, very important, because the metal blades are so powerful.
Yeah, or you might probably pick up one of the items from Flashman or Heatman or Airman. They let you do some pretty crazy zips that save a ton of time, as well as just giving you some platforming options. Onnikur, done with Cutman, had no problems. Excuse me. Is one of those bosses where you can reasonably expect to not take damage in that fight, so health was not a big concern. Had plenty of health anyway. Fireman is dueling with Metalman, is going to get pretty aggressive at the end, had the big health lead they earned from playing defensively in the first half, and kind of started to spend that resource towards the end. It's very difficult to consistently hit Metalman. He jumps up and down at different heights. On the Cute Shadow recognized they were probably about to fall into that pit, so using some pause canceling to reset their downwards momentum to get the extra distance to cross that gap. Kerpwick has headed to Airman and is going to be doing a lot of damage boosting here.
So you have one tiny pixel to jump on those platforms without taking a hit, and it's where saving time comes from the most here, and it's so damn hard. So if you make any mistake, you're going to be pushed and fall to your death. So that's probably why Airman is so hard to optimize, and a lot of runners are going to decide to skip the boss. But in the other hand, so many bosses are difficult in Mega Man 3, 4, 5, and 6. You might just want to take Airman slowly and deal with the fact that you're going to lose a lot of time. As long as you don't fall to your death, it's going to be okay. So Kerpwick takes that option apparently, and we're going to see how well that goes for them. Meanwhile, Fireman and Cute Shadow still in tank, going for Quickman second, and Onnikur starts Gutsman. I didn't see exactly how Cutman went, but feels like they've lost a little bit of time in that first level.
Yeah, they did. Remember, when they were low on health, they did not come out of that situation. Did die. Is not going to die again. Right. One more hit, please. One of those make contact with Gutsman. Has finished off Gutsman. Very close. Clutch finish there. Done with Mega Man 1. Joining the others in 2. Doing one extra Robot Master in 1, so it's not quite as far behind as they might appear. I think probably the runners will sync up after Mega Man 2 is done. So we'll get an idea of kind of where they really stand relative to each other. Cute Shadow doing a really good job with navigating the quick beam section there. It's you get enough visual information about which direction to hold as the screen scrolls that it's not too taxing on your memorization. But if you're pressing the wrong thing, immediately as you gain control, you're probably dead. You're probably just straight up dead. So it's always a little bit scary. Low health Quickman fights for both Fireman and Cute Shadow. This is going to be a little bit scary. Yeah, Cute Shadow actually using an E-Tank here. This is a pretty reliable thing to have here.
Ooh,
Fireman
hit. Second
needs
one.
This.
Wow.
One more.
Nice reaction, being able to dodge Quickman, and Cute Shadow apparently did take the good decision by healing there. Plus, the E-Tank they were not going to keep anyway, so that's pretty good for them. Cute Shadow entering Bubble Man once again in sync with Fireman, so obviously they did take the same route and apparently the same boss order, so I do expect them to stick together for a while. Meanwhile, Kerpwick goes for the itemless zip here. It's pretty long to set up, but it's going to allow you to skip all that section, never being able to see those robotic Metroids, and just zipping past all those dangerous traps is just saving a lot of time. Meanwhile, Onnikur on one of the easiest levels is going to die sadly, because Flashman is going to get on top of you, and if you're not able to burst damage fast enough, you're going to die.
I'm curious what strat exists to not take any damage on Flashman, because it's so difficult to avoid taking at least one hit here as he comes towards you. I can't remember if it's a damage boost is part of the strat in difficult mode. or the Japanese version for players who run this game. But it is extremely difficult to deal with Flashman as he's up close. So as soon as I saw that health, I knew Onlooker was basically dead. But it was a not so costly a death. You can game over in Mega Man. You can die right before a checkpoint. These things will cost you more time than dying to a boss the way that we just saw. So it's Capriqui's turn for Bubble Man is going to be able to do this pretty easily. It's a very straightforward fight. The stage not so straightforward, what with the zip and all. If you're not used to Mega Man, that maybe surprised you, but there are many ways in Mega Man games to get inside the wall, and the game tries to eject you out of the wall. And once you're in there, if you face left, ejecting out means ejecting forwards, and so you just kind of get ejected all the way across the stage. You just need to find a clever way to get inside the wall. The item that players normally use in this game, the item 2, is obtained by beating a Robot Master, so they will not have access to it. But using the pause canceling to get on top of the level in an unintended way will get you in that wall. You can still execute on that zip. Capriquic did not get the damage boosts in the early Metal Man, so had to use that E-Tank, and is now behind a little bit, getting hit by these drills, so is very low on health. There's a couple spots where you're likely to take damage in Metal Man stage, and then you've got the boss fight itself. So if Capriquic knows how to do the pause canceling to reset momentum, vertical falling speed, you can get the E-Tank and get back out cleanly, and that might be a really good option here. So we'll see what they decide to do. First, do they take damage here? They do. Very, very difficult to sneak under there. I'm starting to get pretty worried for them. I hope they know how to get this E-Tank.
Yeah, not having an HP on Middleman.
Oh, they're not going to need
it. And a very good lucky drop here. Yeah, they can just go. The E-Tank is pretty difficult to get and pretty long anyway, so happy to see Capriquic getting a lucky drop here. So they're moving onward to the boss. Meanwhile, Onlooker against the boss. If you are super good and you've played countless hours of Mega Man, you can sneak through those Soul Blades, but if you have enough HP, you can just burst and do the DPS race, and yeah, they're going to kill the boss and quickly reset. If you were to double KO, that's meaning like dying at the same time at the boss, the goal is only to kill the boss, so it doesn't matter too much. Very nice strat, jumping under the Soul Blades. It's pretty slow. Oh wow, touching the bosses is never a good idea. They were so good in the good rhythm.
Hold on.
And nicely done. Capriquic knowing exactly how to beat that boss. Fireman kills Flashman and is moving onward to... Yeah, Mega Man 3. I wasn't sure, but the date 1990 surprised me. The games on the NES came so quickly, one per year. It's surprising still. All right, Mega Man 3 is very different. It's going to be an exercise of dealing with the lag, of the mashing, of being able to slide as much as you can to save time.
Yeah, speaking of release dates, Mega Man 3 followed Mega Man 2 in a notoriously short period of time. Basically, Mega Man 1 was, a cool game, but didn't really light the world on fire. Mega Man 2 really gained traction in the public. Capriquic taking a weird path in Flashman stage here. I almost think they didn't intend to go this way. But after Mega Man 2 was so successful, they were like, we gotta make another, get it out there. And so they rushed Mega Man 3 a little bit. It's a little bit unoptimized, it lags like crazy. But they did innovate and add the slide, and the slide, of course, stayed and became a staple in the series thereafter. So they do get credit for that. They have the fantastic music of Top Man stage, which is what most people are going to be doing in Mega Man 3. There is also potentially Needleman is very quick and has the worst boss fight of maybe all 46 available. That has been enough to keep most players away.
Yeah, it is one of the worst. Considering how short it is the highest risk-reward ratio on this category by far. And no one is going for it. We've seen it maybe a couple of times. Taker, I think, has done it once on stream, but it's so hard. It's hard.
Fireman, get the hell.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Wow, big health drop gives you so little in Mega Man 3 compared to Mega Man 2. I never realized that, but we've seen players get drops in quick succession. Thankfully, they're almost at the boss, and the boss should not kill them, except if they touch them. Obviously, the tops here has killed a lot of players. Fireman is going to play it safe, wow, tight jump, and make it through.
Cute Shadow went for the extremely aggressive strategy on the tops, did the the jump, like half zip up to one top, and then the jump to skip the one at the end. Just no fear. I find it so hard to do that in a run, let alone a race. So hats off to Cute Shadow. Kerpweek is approaching Mega Man 3 pretty safe here. Went up top to get the extra health in Top Man stage on the first screen. You don't lose too much time in terms of going up to get it. You lose a ton of time by not defeating certain enemies and keeping them on the screen and lagging things like crazy while you go up to get it. That was kind of the major time loss there. Lost a couple seconds probably. It really is that bad. Even the lag on just one screen can be more than a second. So, but is going to have the consistency of getting through that screen with full health, and they're leveraging that now, taking 4 hits on the cat. Mashing this cat down is extremely difficult. I think that was like 8 jumps or something. So we'll see how they do here. Pretty low health. Moving into the middle of Top Man section, Cute Shadow is with Fireman on Pharaoh Man, the very popular Mega Man 4 boss. Gets hit here, trying to jump over the gap. I don't think they were going to make that jump anyway, but either way, you do want to cross that gap to pick up the balloon on the other side. The balloon's not so good, but it will warp you further ahead in the stage.
Plus, it will warp you with all your health, so it's a good safety and fast measure, so you want to take it. But very good reaction by Cute Shadow. They got knocked off and did not, stop for a second, stunned by what happened. Oh wow, Onlooker dying to Quickman. It's not too bad dying once on a boss, but you don't never want to do is die multiple times, because game overs are going to cost you so much. Meanwhile, Cute Shadow on those spikes that killed so many runners recently. I feel like Fireman is one of the stages that killed the most players on stream because of those sections here. It's so easy to die being pushed on the spikes, your iframe stowing, and just you getting killed instantly by the spikes.
More spikes now on the second half of Pharaoh Man stage. I think it's not quite as deadly as the first half, but obviously there are spikes present, so they are at least some measure of deadly in a Mega Man game. Instant kill if you touch them. Is past the scary part now, but is down to half health here going into Pharaoh Man. Now, if Pharaoh Man cooperates, you won't get hit at all, and he looks pretty stupid. But if he is not cooperating, it's a problem. He's very difficult to deal with when he jumps at you, when he throws these projectiles. It's probably the first thing he's going to do here at the start. So, yeah, did take that one hit. That's pretty common. Now you want to stay close to manipulate the charge attack. And Cute Shadow is, as I think, not close enough here. We'll see. I'm not sure exactly at what point Pharaoh Man kind of checks to see how far away you are. So I think he's just getting back in range before that check happens. But he's getting the patterns he needs here. He's now ahead on health. He's going to get the last hit.
That was a very good fight, actually. Being able to take a few hits and once again recover quickly. I don't know what happened to Cute Shadow, but clearly they're pumped by the race, by the fact that you want to do as good as possible. Their PB is tied with Kerpweek at 204 points, up 2 points ahead of Fireman, and still they're pulling ahead by so much here. They died early in Gutsman's fight, and they're back in the lead by quite a lot. Kerpweek in the middle of Fireman here, almost at the balloon, and Fireman is starting Gravity Man as Cute Shadow is almost in the middle. Oh, actually Fireman goes for Starman first, so first difference between Cute Shadow and Fireman round, and once again it doesn't matter at all. They're probably both doing both stages in Mega Man 5 actually.
Yeah, that seems pretty likely. Mega Man 5 is a little more friendly than 4. Your charge attack has this really big hitbox on it. Makes it quite useful for obliterating, say, all these turrets. But the downside is that you will lose your charge if you get hit. So, like there, if Cute Shadow was counting on having that charge shot, he would have just lost it. So, some bad things can happen in a couple situations here. Is getting beaten up a little bit towards the end of the stage. Gravity Man is on a set pattern every time, and you do need a bit of time invested to memorize it yourself. But it's not too hard. So that said, he fires these projectiles throughout the fight regularly, but they are very fast, and you're usually very focused on trying to land your shots, that it's pretty common to take a hit or two. So Cute Shadow can take one. I'm not sure if they can take two. We'll see how this fight goes for them.
Getting touched by the boss is going to cost you a lot, so I think that's one. The bullets do damage quite a lot as well, so you would rather never get hit. Oh, maybe a second one would make it. There would be like one tick of health. I'm not even sure that's going to be enough. But yeah, Cute Shadow is so good today. They're just moving on to Starman now, and it's a long stage. Fireman is not done yet, and it's a deadly one. You want to be able to keep your health and not touch those spikes. You have very low gravity, and it's pretty easy to jump a little bit too high, you know, being too A button happy and die instantly. Plus the boss, we're going to see that on Fireman's screen, as those weird stars moving around them, and I don't know how the hitbox works with them, but it's been very confusing for I think us throughout those commentaries, because sometimes we've seen players super close to dying and not being hit, and sometimes, on the other hand, the wide hitbox while Starman is jumping actually surprising us.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is so misleading is that the star hitbox is much bigger after it's thrown, depending on instead of when it's orbiting Starman. Fireman did a really good job of dealing with that fight. The biggest thing is, you know, you don't have to worry so much about where the stars are. You can give them kind of a wide berth as long as Starman is not jumping on you all the time. So you want to try to stay close to manipulate some of those higher jumps throughout that fight, and it becomes much more manageable, especially because he's more likely to throw that star shield once he's in the air compared to standing on the ground. Quick. Getting banked up a little bit in Gravity Man stage, very, very common. There's so many places in this stage where something is in your way, and it generally will, you know, the turrets die in one charge shot, but those little springy guys that sort of unscrew themselves, those guys take more than one charge shot to kill, and so that makes them a pretty big problem. We got Starman here for Cute Shadow, and is just barely going to clear over the Little Walker. Has plenty of health for this fight. Onlikur has now made it to Pharaohman. They had a bit of struggles with the first screen on Pharaohman. I think everyone did, because it is such a difficult screen to do optimally. But you can really get banged up and be overwhelmed by enemies. There was a bit of a problem. So Pharaohman looks like they are losing the battle in terms of health right now. Cute Shadow, however, is winning theirs quite handily. That's going to be fine. They're going to be able to take that hit. No problem. Whoa, that was a weird situation to be in. What?
Oh my
Come
god.
on now.
Okay, one final hit, and here we go. Nicely done by Cute Shadow. To be honest, the fact that you don't lose the charge in Mega Man 4 is so counterintuitive that I'm not sure it helps much. It helps just very experienced runners that know that you don't have to re-input your attack button after being hit. Meanwhile, Quick is killing Gravity Man here, taking advantage of the large charge shot hitbox, and Fireman is right behind them, meaning that they're almost exactly one boss fight behind Quick, and about that time behind Cute Shadow. So it's very close between those three, but Cute Shadow consistently pulling ahead here since their death in Gutsman, sadly losing them about 20 seconds, I'd say. Here we go, Fireman is done. Gravity Man, the third time we see it on stream here, is less impressive, to be honest. The first time you encounter that boss, it feels like you have no opportunity, no chances to hit them, and once you figure it out, it's way easier.
And Cute Shadow was stuck up in a wind, one of the jets that these fans provide. Did not think that they could. Oh, slipping between the platforms and dies. Did trigger the checkpoint though. In fact, I'm wondering now if that was intentional to get a health refill. But either way, they're extremely close.
Wow.
With Quick, who, man,
that jump. I don't know. I saw Cute Shadow die to that jump. Those flipping platforms here, I don't know why, but they're super scary to me. They're not that fast, especially compared to Gutsman, green platforms, but still, they get me all the time. Quick, as you were mentioning, is very, very close to Cute Shadow now.
Yeah, Fireman also in Windman stage is just about to hit the checkpoint here. Very, very close finish between these three. Onlikur still has Gravity here, and considering they did cut, and I think they didn't skip anything in 2, so I'm pretty sure that they only have to do one Robot Master here. Cannot get hit by anything in this Gravity Man fight, so yeah, is not even going to try to play this one out, is going to intentionally die, get the health refill, come in. I think it's probably smart. I think even I would consider doing that, and I've got like a the 13th place time or something on the leaderboard. Like, yeah, it's pretty good, but Gravity Man is pretty scary. Very easy to take any one hit throughout the fight. Final boss fight for Cute Shadow in Windman. We'll see how this goes. Kerpweek just behind, also entering this fight. It's not so difficult to lose time in this fight, so I think Cute Shadow is going to hold on to the lead here. But, you know, if you get tagged by one of these attacks while you're charging, lose your charge, or don't jump instead of slide and get on top of the boss, all right, Cute Shadow is going to finish this off. Congrats to Cute Shadow finishing first on stream, and I guess overall for now, we'll see on Saturday. Kerpweek gets
so
it. Jumped over the very peak of the jets, and I think that was probably a slide input instead of a jump input came out there while they were on the left side. But yeah, no jump, hit by the projectiles. I'm gonna allow Fireman to sneak into second here.
Yep, it's very close between those two. Nice dual screen here for Windman fight. Having a couple of hits earlier, Fireman is in the lead, but not by much. Missing a charge shot here is going to mean that they have to hit them once more. Windman is pretty difficult. Once they get on top of you, they can kill you. Fireman is so close to done. Oh, wow, gets sucked in, not able to slide fast enough, and Kerpweek actually finishes first, and that's so close to PB for Kerpweek. I'm not sure. Their PB is 23:58. That might be it.
Man, I don't quite understand how Fireman died there. He was sliding. He was in the slide animation. You should be moving away from Windman when that happens, but he's getting like sucked in while sliding.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I don't know exactly how that works, but I think I don't know. I'm surprised, to be honest. I think the closer you are to Windman, the harder it is to escape, but I'm not sure by how much. Wow, they're taking a lot of hits. Maybe they're smashing a little bit too much their sliding button instead of doing like big slides. But here we go. Fireman kills Windman in less than 25 minutes. Anytime sub 25 is super good. Onlooker is on PB pace, by the way, starting earlier than PB Flameman here. Flameman is a very, very difficult stage, but last time we did private commentary on their runs doing Flameman, they actually disagreed with me. I said that it was super difficult and they were doing a great job, and they did not disagree. They did not do a great job. They did disagree considering the difficulty of the stage. They're pretty confident with it and think that it's a safe and nice option, so I guess that's what the round does for you, giving you multiple options, and if you're not comfortable with one stage, you can swap it to another. But Onlooker crafted their route according to what they wanted, and that's exactly what we wanted for the pros to do on Mega Man 1 through 6 here.
Yeah, this is the instant death of the flames is a problem. The enemies that shoot these really annoying arc projectiles and have a ton of health, they're a problem. The biggest difficulty of this stage that I was thinking of when I thought about having to play it was playing it optimally, which is sliding. Sliding is faster than walking, so you want to be doing slides. Just look at these platforms, the number of small platforms in Flameman stage. Trying to slide on almost all of these will get you killed. Oh, barely making that jump. In Mega Man 6, you cannot jump out of a slide. You have to tap left to cancel it and then press right again and jump. So it is extremely difficult to go to do the optimal strats in this stage. And so when you remove that, which doesn't really save that much time, and you take time to kill these enemies with that shoot the flame and then damage boost off of them when necessary, so you don't have to worry about the fire, the stage itself it becomes not so bad. The boss, however, is always going to be a problem.
Difficult. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't start so well for Onlookers. They will have to restart, sadly. I think they're missing their PB just because of Flameman. And, PB is going to tick by in a few seconds. It's not too bad. Onlooker doing their best. And I like that route. I like the fact that they crafted it to their needs and not going for so many difficult levels in Mega Man 5 and 6 is actually great. Going for Cutmans in Mega Man 1 is definitely a good decision if you know how to do Cutman fast. Sadly, once again, Flameman not being a nice pal here and killing Onlooker once again. So that's the final try, or they will have to do the stage all over again.
Yeah, that's It feels pretty bad. The first death, you come in without your full health, and it's a tough fight where you're likely going to take some damage. So, if it doesn't go your way, it's not so. It's pretty easy to write that off and not feel like you didn't, you played poorly or anything. But the second time when you come in with the full health and you still die, and furthermore, it wasn't even particularly close. That can make you start to worry. So Alnacore had a great start to this fight. We'll see. Oh man, it is so hard to deal with those flames. Their hitboxes are just a little bit taller than you think they should be. Trying to find the gaps is so difficult. Oh, wow. Cannot get hit by anything anymore.
They have an E-tank. Wow. Yep. Amazing decision not using it earlier and actually just using it now, giving there a good opportunity actually to beat Flame Man now. I'm confident with Alnacore ability to do so. They have nice positioning all the time. They can deal with the patterns, and actually just taking one extra hit that would have killed them if they were not to use that E-tank. So very, very good decision making and very quickly done by all the players. Quick is ahead. Q-Channel and Fireman 2 points in between them. Fireman missing the PB by just one death on Windman sadly, and Alnacore is going to be behind by about 70 points. I think they were in this anyways, knowing they had very little chance to compete with Q-Shadow Fireman being some of the top runners in UD7, but still doing a great job finishing all those runs very, very close to the pack.
And Alnacore having such a good understanding of their limits. Like, they took all that damage early on in Flame Man's fight, and they just knew, like, no, even with the E-Tank, I'm probably not gonna deal enough damage to finish it. So I'm gonna take this death and rely on my last life to be the one to play strong early on and make it happen. So if they had used the E-Tank on the second try and died anyway, and didn't have the E-Tank on the third try, it would have been a disaster. So thinking ahead, knowing their limits, and acting appropriately, so important. That could have been the difference between this 28-26 and like a 30-26 or so. It could have been a huge difference if there was a game over there.
Yeah.
And every point matters. They're pretty far back here at 70 points with across the first 4 games. So they do need to start maybe thinking about being a little more aggressive. But maybe they're not trying to play for a win. Maybe they're not trying to play for top 6, and they're just interested in running a good race and scoring however many points that is. We can take a look now at game number 5. It's going to be Minute. Lovely little black and white platformer, not a platformer, adventure game. I just assume, speedrunning, of course, it's always platformers. No, we play all kinds of games here on the Ultime Decathlon. This is a game that is pretty evenly matched. It's we're going to see everyone score somewhere between 7 and 8.5 minutes, probably. It's just it's pretty easy to get somewhat consistent here on Minute, and it is a chance actually for some of our players to catch Caprique. Is a little bit weaker on this game compared to the others, and the points tick by pretty quickly. So even if you only beat Caprique by 20-30 seconds, that can be the points you need really to close the gap.
Yeah. I think during that Minute intro, you said everything you need. If you've never seen UD and you don't know what it's about, it's speedrunning multiple 10 actually very, very different games in styles. So it's going to be platformer, adventure games, puzzle games, lawnmower, which is a style by itself. Lawnmower is a subgenre of homebrews, and your PBs and your scores in your times in races equates to points. The points are directly linearly tied to your times, and you add up all your results to all the 10 games, and you get a score. You want to aim for 2,000, but it's very, very difficult. The 200 mark is close-ish to world record, but on some games and on some season it's easier to get, and in UD7 you can totally aim for 2,000 if you are one of the best runners out there. Minute is going to start. It's a very, very short one. It's a very interesting speedrun actually.
just now realized I have not been updating the games, but that game is now updated to Minute, so the lovely Minute community can find us. It's a very very cute game, very fun to play, good sense of humor, stuff like that. But in terms of speedrunning, it is all about the hyper tiny micro optimizations everywhere. There's a lot of just walking around on the map, and it is surprisingly difficult to walk on the most optimal paths. And there's a bit of randomness. Enemies will get in your way, and having to adjust to deal with those. You eventually get an ability to charge up your sword and throw it, and optimizing how long you hold the button in order to throw the sword becomes important. You're locked in place while this happens, so if you're trying to throw the sword at like one of the crabs, for example, and it sidesteps you, that's a problem. So, just like positioning yourself to line these things up is pretty straightforward on the surface, and then once you drill down into it, you can find out the world record is saving a minute off of just standing a little bit to the left, or moving diagonally here, or approaching this corner in this way. And considering you just got an 8-minute time, saving a minute off of 8 minutes is pretty ridiculous. So the first major skip that players have to do if they want to get a top time in this game is navigating this room in the dark. Fireman's going to be the first one there. Does not have the flashlight, so is navigating based off of sound or some other strategy. I'm not sure, but it's not go. He is going to get through.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was about time. Like it was, everyone's waiting for him to come out on the other side, and if he doesn't come out at the same time as you expect, you figure there's no way he's getting out alive. But he did.
Yep, that's actually worrisome if you're too long in that room, because once you don't know where you are, there is no way to get back into safety. Oh no, Q-Shadow actually swapping screen once too much. You want to change screen exactly 5 times in the desert, so you are discovering the lost oasis, and you can kill the ghost, giving you on fireman screen. You can see that right now. The pitcher's mitt that allows you to throw the sword and catch it when it comes back, being the only thing that prevents you from throwing your sword. The game has a weird sense of humor, but it's really well put together, and overall, Fireman is moving on super quickly, followed quickly by Q-Shadow had a weird mistake here in the desert, so they are just a frame behind Olneker.
Yeah, well, the in-game timers on the top right will give you an impression, a closer idea of what's going on in the overall race, because Olneker has some stream delay. The others are all quite close, actually, so as they appear on stream is mostly where they are in place. But Olneker further ahead than he appears, and indeed ahead of Q-Shadow, and probably pretty close to Quick and Fireman. Doing the mental math here is a little bit beyond me in terms of these minor few seconds, but definitely pretty close. The mission now is to kill all these crabs. Doing a sword throw there to kill the furthest one is a way to save just a little bit of time. Killing the crabs will let the cafe owner on the beach here doesn't like the crabs. He doesn't really say why. I don't know if he's got some beef.
It scares the customers, I think, because they cannot enjoy the beach so peacefully.
I guess. And I guess they're dangerous crabs.
Yeah, dangerous crabs. You want to have a big sword to kill them. Everybody has swords, and everybody has cursed swords. The idea behind the game is to get rid of the curse that makes you die and revive every minute. And overall, our little quest here is pretty successful. Entering the hotel, the third and final location you will respawn at, and the first mission here is to save as many people as possible. So you have a lot of customers in the hotel, so the manager, the director, will open the swimming pool on the rooftops.
Everyone in the same fight, very close together. What you want to see and what you expect to see a little bit in Minute. It is so difficult to fight for all the tiny little optimizations that generally things come out pretty even in this game, and particularly with these players are particularly even matched in this game, trying to push this person into just so that they can find their lost credit card, and that will help them, I suppose, stop looking for it and return to the hotel, but also maybe afford their stay at the hotel. So dual purpose there. Knocking down the trees to prevent this little guy from having a place to hide. lets you approach him and capture him, I guess, and bring him back to the hotel. Just needed a little bit of convincing. On to our second dark room here. The first trip is very straightforward. It's basically a straight shot. But the second one, you need to detonate bombs that are placed in the darkness. You need to hit them from far away or they will kill you. So trying to find your position relative to the bombs and throw your sword without killing yourself is pretty difficult. Looks like we're getting success from all 4 players. We've seen people mess that up in races before.
Yeah, it's surprisingly close. I'm just super focused on the timers between the players, trying to figure out who's in the lead, because Quick I think is going to get the flippers here at 409, first place, just followed by Fireman at 413. But Cute Shadow is already done. I didn't quite see, and Onlooker is actually in the first place here at 405, getting the flippers, but that just says and proves how close it is between all those players. And as you said, it's not surprising. I got concerned for a second with Quick here. If you push the crates, you don't want to push them stuck together, because you cannot push 2 crates at once. Your coffee is not strong enough, I guess, but everybody is doing a great job here navigating all those rooms. And we've seen difficult situations here, because the timer is so tight and everything you have to do is on tied to the second here. Any mistakes will cost you lots.
Yeah, we have seen players die on these next 2 runs. Basically will take most of your full minute, 45 to 50 seconds at least, and that's because it's a big walk here. We got Q Shadow is going to be the first one to reach this series of conveyor belts, riding around the outside, hitting these switches in order to stop the conveyor belt and kind of shut down this side of the factory. But we're not done yet. With our remaining 24-ish seconds, we are going to do this big run all the way around the factory here, access a different part of it, and shut down this generator that's hitting the lasers. Missing a couple shots there. Cute Shadow needs to hurry to get the sword into the gear. All right.
Okay. Oh wow! If you run into the gear, you're going to die. So I don't know. I was so rushed in the end. I got super worried, but Cute Shadow is safe and sound with the watering can here. So obviously the sword is on fire, so you need your watering can. We've got right at the start of the game, that was the first item we got. The first very life we had was spent getting that watering can, and finally is put to good use. So we need that watering can to be able to move on. It was also necessary in the middle of the run to save the dude stranded in the desert, so you're not soft lock if you're not able to get there without the watering can anyway. Cute Shadow is with Fireman onto the final boss fight. Just in time, you trigger the final cutscene here. If you do die because of the timer while the cutscene is running, you are back to the hotel, so you really want to hurry as much as possible so you are able to get your checkpoint here, and everybody is on the boss fight. Hard to see because once again the runners did not get the flashlight, so they have to navigate that boss fight, not seeing much of the screen.
Yeah, when these swords light up, you can finally see not only where they are, but also the edges of this place are filled with jagged swords that will hurt you if you touch them. So just kind of need a general sense of where you are and where the edges of the arena are. You do not want to touch them. They will eventually start fighting back themselves, throwing projectiles out, which is going to start on this final phase here. Cute Shadow's the first one to hit this phase. Moving on to the second Fireman right there as well. Kerpwikwik dies trying to track down some of these extra swords. It's pretty common to die here. Very difficult to not get hit because the angles that these swords come out are pretty random. I think I can't perceive any sort of pattern. So sometimes they just block your angle, and you get a little too aggressive, take a hit. So looks like Cute Shadow is just about is going to get there.
I wasn't sure. The timer was ticking, and they missed a couple of hits on those moving swords, but in the end they're doing great. And I don't know what the timer is going to be like, but for Fireman this fight has been a little bit longer. 8:02 is their final time. Kerpwikwik is still in the middle of the fight, and Olnaker is doing great. Is going to be a little bit faster Then Fireman done in 7:54 here.
The timer's already over 8 minutes for Kripik. Their PB is an 8:12, so this is actually going to be a great time for them. Even if it's one of the slowest on stream here, they were playing from behind in terms of PB, so 4 seconds off of PB is totally great for a race.
All right, the players are going to submit their times, and we're going to see. But right before minute, Kripik was in first place. Kuchado and Fireman together very closely, and Olniker about 70 points behind. So Kuchado finished in 7:52, 7:54 for Olniker, Fireman in 8:02, and I'm not surprised, to be honest, with those results. It's a minute is a short game, easy to learn, very hard to master. Under 7:45, 7:50, it's very hard to save time, but it went well for all 4 players today.
Yeah, I think so. We've got 5 more games left to play. Up next is going to be Rack, actually. This is an extremely difficult game, very different from all the others in the same way that Trackmania was, so it can be pretty tough to adjust to that game as it starts. It's going to be a big advantage for Fireman, who excels at these fast-paced first-person games, has the best PB by quite a bit, is probably going to make up a lot of ground on Kripik. Kripik and Kuchado are fairly evenly matched in this game, but a bit of an edge to Kripik, so Kuchado will be hard-pressed to sort of fend them off. And then Olniker, this is one of their weakest games, so their chances, if they want to really push and try to make something happen in terms of beating these other 3 opponents, we need to see a very good Rack. Much better than PB from Olniker. So it's probably going to become clear, where they're going to land after this next game. But we're past the first 5 here. Scores are very close to 2,000 for at least 3 players, and even Olniker is not that far at 900. So overall, an extremely strong performance across the first 5 games.
But right before the second half, we're going to take a 5 minutes break, so the players, can go grab a glass of water and, just relax a little bit before racks. So I do encourage you to do the same, and we'll be right back in just 5 minutes. See you soon. And we're back. So we've played through Out There Somewhere, Lawnmower, Trackmania 2, Mega Man, and Minute. How are you doing, Mythical?
I'm doing great. We played one of my favorite games in Lawnmower, but up next are two of my favorite now of the Decathlon. I got a lot of favorites apparently, but it's true. I really do like all these games. I do like Rack as a speedrun. For the first time I played Rack, I thought it was very underwhelming. I thought it did not feel very fun to shoot anything in a game that's all about shooting things. But as a speedrun, it's really fun. There's a lot going on in terms of a number of skips. There are a lot of strategies to preserve your kill combo, which is probably really why I didn't enjoy the game so much in the casual playthrough. It's designed for you to play through it multiple times and be optimizing for score based off of your kill combos and things like this. But learning how to go fast, how to minimize the effects of the randomness of all these enemies, how to do all these tricks to jump over walls and stuff, is a lot of fun. It is tough though. It is a tough game. There are so many ways where you can just like slip off a ledge and die and lose like 40 seconds, a minute. Like some really dumb things can happen in this game. So it's pretty scary to race, and we'll see how these players do. Take a look.
It moves so quickly. It has all the elements of the classical 90s first-person shooters. You have the strafing, all the crazy the skips, and all the enemies that are going to be in your way. You want to know exactly what you are doing and be very precise and very quick, very active. It's very difficult to run. I'm using the word very a lot, but it is so dense. It is so packed. A lot of stuff is going to happen, and you are going to have the eventual clips and all the tricks, the boss fights, just overall the movement. The final boss fight is super underwhelming, and if you mess up, it's going to cost you a lot of time for no reason. But the 200 point mark is at 18 minutes, considering the world record at the time was 15 minutes. It was aptly set, and now the world record is sub 12. And the scores are getting crazy. But Fireman PB is at 15:52, is ahead by quite a lot.
Yeah, this is as we've said a number of times already. It's definitely his kind of game. He achieved this time very, very quickly. Actually, Rack is still one of those games that a lot of people are still working on. Almost all the PBs in the top 10 were done in March, late March even. It's just S6 Kana, who very, very early on in the season put up a fantastic 15-minute, 10-second time. But yeah, we're into late March on pretty much every other time on this leaderboard. The achievements kind of steered players towards other games. So naturally, when the Rack achievements started to roll out late, that is when people jumped on board, started to learn this game. And I feel like everyone who isn't Taker or Kana is still in the process of really learning this game and learning how to go truly fast in it, becoming more comfortable with the strafe running, and being more consistent at the skips, knowing what kind of weird things you can expect the enemies to do and how to deal with them. I expect these times in Rack across the board to start to crunch down towards the 16-minute mark and even below. So Fireman's time currently stands at a very, very impressive time. We'll see if Fireman is able to stay ahead of other players as everyone starts to play Rack a little more and start to really improve and drill down. And I hope that they do, because I'm curious to see just how far this game gets pushed by the entire community. But for now, everyone's just pushing for one solid race time here. Let's go.
All right, so it's very exciting and frightening starting Rack. You know exactly what you have to do. Those players have practiced the game quite a lot, and moving quickly through the game requires you to do so many things at once. The movement, the routing, the precision, the jumping can be a little bit finicky in first-person games. Obviously, it's not made to be a platformer, but it has so precise movements and tricks. With your jumping, you have to be able to execute on that super quickly. And And the charging, we see Cute Shadow here, but everybody else actually doing the exact same thing. You have the bar in the bottom of the screen being your charge. If you have multiple bars filled, if you're 3-4 firemen, you're going to have a bigger and bigger blast. Here charging the shotgun with the right button is going to be able to one-shot the boss, and you have to think about the order in which you kill the enemies, keeping the combos going so you can do that, bam, saving a lot of time. Everybody does exactly that. Onlooker is currently charging their shots and going for the exact same strat. So that's so many things at once you have to think about in rank to be able to move quickly. That is going to obviously be concerning, and skips the movement. Overall, you want to keep your charge and your quad damage here if you want to deal a lot of damage to the upcoming second phase of the boss.
Fireman had a really excellent skip, getting in very quickly. It's very common for the enemies you leave behind in the previous room to come over to the ledge and just check out, hey, what's going on down there? What you doing? I'm trying to jump out of here and skip, and you're in my way. Cute Shadow is just now getting up that skip. However, Fireman lost a lot of time using the sword, of all things, to build up his combo before heading into the boss. When you've got that Doom Sphere, that big red angry upgrade, your damage is so crazy. With the shotgun or even the pistol, you can obliterate most of these enemies very quickly. So I feel like he lost a lot of time. Onlooker's actually got a tier 4 combo, managed to carry it from the previous section, dealing with the enemies in the skip. This is, it feels good to have the full combo here, but it's really unnecessary. You can do the job with even just a stage 2 combo, and likely if you were able to kill all those enemies to get that combo, it means your skip wasn't very good getting out of that room. So it's not quite as impressive as it might be. Fireman did not get the jump first try. That means these enemies are going to swarm in and be a problem, so losing a bit of time here. He does get the skip, which is that's the big thing, but those little time losses can add up in a pretty big way. And in the worst case scenario, you can just get absolutely stuck and penned in by enemies, and it can be a really bad scene. That was overall pretty good.
Yeah, overall the enemies deal quite a lot of damage, even considering we are on the casual difficulty. The game doesn't feel as casual in that, and obviously you are able to one-shot that big angry robot, which is pretty good with the 4 charges shot here, but the health is a major concern. You want to keep it high health at all times and high armor. We are going to use that as a resource for the rocket jumping, but except for that, it's just overall you are going to take damage here and there to the enemies, and what kills you are the missed jumps in the lava. That's the one shot, but except that, it's going to be tiny time losses everywhere, and if you have to move out of the way of the enemies to save health, it's going to equate to a lot of time loss. So you want to be careful with all your movement, all that, and those tiny skips here, very nicely done by Fireman, setting up quickly and heading that jump, crouch jump here above the bars pretty quickly.
Using the combo off the sword that you build up to slash through all the enemies waiting in your way. Taking out those 3 enemies just to give the spiders a clear path to come in and give you something to jump off of here. And using this pistol combo, it's pretty rare you get anything good out of the pistol, but it does take care of all those spiders in a nice row there. So really good use of the pistol. It also is pretty good at dealing with the little guys. They will die in one... Not little. They're thin, but they're tending. They're not the spiders. The enemies are just so similar. I can't even describe. It's the blue guy, but not the big blue guy. It's the little blue guy. He dies in one hit.
Yellow guys
with
have 1 HP.
With the pistol. So the pistol's actually pretty good at dealing with them. This pulsar rifle here is pretty good at dealing with everything in the game. Has the highest DPS and gets used a lot in this fight. Gonna try to get out of here with as much pulse ammo as we can, so taking care to pick up the pulse ammo only when we have room in our so that we're gonna get the full benefit of it, and then leaving with as much as Fireman did. I think that was 150 is very good.
Yeah, but you also don't want to backtrack to get the final pack of ammo that was left. So it's all a trade. It's all deciding what you need and what you absolutely need and what's completely optional. And between all that is a mix of knowing the route and knowing all the strats and being confident on executing on those. And Fireman so far is showing that they know exactly what to do. Kappa Quick is loading on to level 3, and Cute Shadow is having a little bit of difficulties here. here on rank at the start. We are at the end of level 2 for them, followed closely by Onlooker, but Fireman is not stopping for anything, doing a lot of skips. Every time you see a runner waiting for a spider, they're just setting up a skip here above, and very nicely done. It's not so easy to jump on a spider. It's very precise. It's a sphere, and yet you have to get exactly on top of, or you're going to slide down, take a hit, be pushed off, and have to restart again. And the more you try, I feel the more slippery the spiders get. It's actually awkward sometimes to set that up. Quick is not going for the skip here, and is going to kill all the enemies, leaving even more time for Fireman to complete the stage. Oh no! Okay.
Does actually get the skip there.
Nice.
If you don't clear the enemies in front of the gate, then the spiders don't have enough room to get in there. And then if you don't if they don't get in there quickly, more things spawn in, bigger things spawn in. It gets pretty nasty. So Caprique got caught up a little bit, but did avoid the worst of it. Honestly, did a really good job with that. The spiders jumping off of them is like they do feel slippery, but the worst part is that enemies knock you back when they hit you in this game by like a lot. Like even a tiny little projectile that seems like it should just be like this fuzzy little ball will actually knock you back a long ways, especially if you're in the air trying to jump on top of a spider. And the spiders themselves will attack you, of course, if you try to jump on them. So the knockback can be absolutely infuriating sometimes when you're trying to set up some of these jumps. Fireman is going to get blocked here. He is going to try to hold on to this sword combo. It's only a level 2 combo, so it's not going to be too good, but it is going to help out a little bit here with the first major boss. Well, I don't know. I guess that first level did technically have a boss. He just got obliterated. Mecharon here is the first real boss fight in the speedrun. Did an extra 500 damage with that sword combo, but he could have used that to clear out those enemies that were blocking his way to the teleporter. So we'll see if this 500 damage is worth it if he can get this boss down in the appropriate number of cycles. Pulsar rifle with the huge DPS is going to be a big help there.
One of the reasons you want to keep on the sword, even if it's only a 2 level charge, is because you will be able here to kill Necron with only Pulsar, saving you the time to switch weapons, and nicely done by Fireman. So overall that was pretty good, yeah, Quick is right behind him. I was surprised just earlier with the skip, but there are so many ways to set up things and skips and jumps that it differs vastly actually from runners to runners, so it's always a little bit surprising to me on some ways to deal with the enemies. Onlooker is in the middle of level 3, and Cute Shadow is at the start of the second sections here, so actually Quick and Fireman are making a good taking a good lead compared to the other 2 runners here.
Oh no, Quick jumped. The rockets that Mechron shoots, they have a really big splash and pretty decent knockback. If you jump, that knockback will knock you over the edge of the level and into the lava. It is one of the worst things that can happen in this fight. And it totally just happened there. So Caprique is going to have to deal with the situation. Cute Shadow does get to skip over the bars, looking at a horde of enemies. Fireman is mowing down his horde of enemies. This is mandatory in order to progress. However, the big robot got into the middle of the field and started blocking where the enemies are supposed to teleport in. You try to bait him away to prevent that from happening, but eventually you kind of got to get in and start shooting at the enemies in there. So if you're not fast enough, that happens, and then you lose even more time. It's also going to mess with your combo, but Fireman was able to build up another one. He needs this combo for the upcoming boss fight. It's another one of these bosses that just gets totally obliterated by a well-planned combo plus Doom Sphere. With a level 3 charge, I'm pretty sure this is a one-shot on this boss.
Yeah, they're going to get close and personal to be sure. Very quakey skip, getting into the corner of the wall here to be able to get the Doom Sphere. You're not supposed to be able to grab it before the boss, and no problem for speedrunners, experienced speedrunners here, finding those skips, and any part of the geometry, slopes and angles are going to be exploited, and you actually can get up there very nicely. Done by Fireman. I was impressed on how they built up their combo, even if the horde of enemies did not treat them as well as they wanted. They're going to set up a skip here using the explosive spiders, just jumping in time, being propelled above the door. That's exactly what killed Kaupukpik on Mekron, actually used here correctly by Fireman. Meanwhile, Kaupukpik is finally done apparently with Mekron. He's waiting for the level to switch. Here we go. It's way longer than it needs to be, but when you're playing casually the game, you know, finishing a level is very rewarding. When you're speedrunning, any animation like that is going to take, I don't know, it feels like it takes a minute when it's actually just a couple of seconds.
You really, the big fist clench animation doesn't carry the same weight when you're like, all right, already, let's go. But yeah, Kaupukpik, I'm sure must have died at some point again during the Mekron fight, given how long it took them. I was kind of entranced watching Fireman play this game. It's just the way this game is. Looking to set up another jump here. You can lure one of the explosive spiders over, but you will go into the boss fight with less health, and given Fireman already took some pretty big damage, probably didn't want to get hit again, so killed the explosive spider and is instead going to jump off of the little one. It's a little more inconsistent to get that, but you will keep your health up. Now, the boss fight doesn't present too much danger in terms of damage. Did get hit there, actually, but jumping over the waves is one of the easiest things to deal with. This is where you're probably going to get hit a little bit. Staying far away and trying to lead your shots on the pulsar rifle while he moves that quickly is pretty difficult. So you want to be close, and then very likely he's going to bonk into you. So unfortunately, Fireman did like take a little bit of a hit here, and also is down with 30 more pulse ammo than they would rather be in this situation. But very, very solid kill overall. They're going to be pretty happy with that.
It's not so hard of a boss or a level, but overall it's pretty hard to execute on anything, and the worst thing is usually getting prepared for the next phase. So you want to keep all your ammunitions and HP so you can move on as quickly as possible, especially because level 6 is so brutal. So finally we are getting the rocket launcher. We're almost done with the game, but there's still new weapons coming, and we're going to... Well, that's obvious. Rocket launcher means rocket jump, obviously. Here we go. Half of the level is already done, thanks to that.
Yeah, this is basically two halves of the level with switches at the end that open up that pink door way back in the distance there. That was one of them that he just hit, so saving a ton of time doing that entire wing. We're going to see, you know, the other section is about as equally as long as this next series of things that Fireman is about to do, using the rocket launcher to take care of those explosive spiders, to open up the next way, using the rocket launchers from afar to clear out some troublesome enemies. Now is on one of the scariest parts of the more involved parts, I should say, pulsing down all these enemies as you run, making this jump. Hopefully that guy doesn't stop. You switch to the rocket launcher, shoot these guys, switch back to the pulsar as you jump off of this secret platform, get some extra health. Okay. Didn't quite get it, finds the bouncy pad on the way down again. Very nicely done. This is it got blocked by those enemies, which is something that can happen, but reading that situation and executing overall, I think is still really good through this very tricky section.
Yeah, the blue beams will kill you in one shot, so if you don't find the pad immediately, you're going to die in one hit. So very well done by Fireman, finally completing the second half. Be careful here, you have a lot of explosive spiders all around, but he killed all of them apparently, so no problem at all. And moving on, just a couple of bouncing pad jumps, and they're done with the one of the hardest level in the game. Actually, it's once you know exactly how to do those rocket jumps and find the HP and all, it doesn't look as scary, but it's a very, very difficult level to learn and to practice on at the start. Level 7 though is going to be the hardest level for everyone, super packed with enemies, lots of skips, plus you have the deadly bridge of doom and in the end, so it's a very, very crowded level. Plus you have that tiny rocket jump here, very nicely executed by Fireman, but he has no armor and 44 HP left.
I can't believe he is charting up this combo right now. Any one of these enemies could deal a ton of damage, but he picks up a bunch of extra health and almost carries the combo into this section. It helps out a lot with the final bit of this. After these spiders are eliminated, some robots are going to come, so he's going to cash in on that charged up bazooka shot quickly, because it has a huge radius on it, and it's very easy to get yourself killed with it once these robots start to pen you in. So doing a pretty good job of salvaging a bad situation. If you have that full rocket combo earlier, you can just obliterate every single one of these robots with it. Now, yeah, this is that was really clutch actually, coming out of the rocket jump with so few health, running around avoiding those enemies, keeping alive, and following through to the checkpoint.
Waiting for the sniper to fall here. That guy will block you. Wow, missing the rocket here. So all the bosses have a cutscene at the start, but you can hit them during the cutscene if you were fast enough at throwing ammo at them just before the cutscene started. The fastest strat on the eye here, Oculus, is to deal a bunch of plasma damage and then quickly switch to rocket to be hidden right at the end. If you do that exactly correctly, you will be able to beat the boss in 3 or 4 cycles, but it's very difficult. Plus, you have to wait for RNG to bless you with the correct patterns. Fireman getting a hit here, clutch rocket damage, and moving on. So it's a long boss. It's a pretty difficult one, but they're doing a great job at waiting for the good RNG.
Yeah, this being able to crouch under the missiles makes all of the missile patterns pretty trivial. You really are just waiting to be able to press that left mouse button and deal some damage. Fireman getting the slower of the patterns. He's out of missiles. He needed to be a little more diligent going around the outside of the level to pick up the rockets. But does find some more there, and now it's going to have enough to finish this fight. And I'm trying to think ahead, and yeah, we'll have plenty to finish the game even. Getting the final shot there is what? 1 full level ahead of Kerpuik, and even more ahead of some of the other players. I'm not sure. Onlooker I hope, is just waiting out the final animation and is not having the stream frozen. I have seen it buffer once or twice on their end, so hopefully everything is fine on their end. I really don't want to see them show up in chat saying that their game crashed or anything.
All right. If the game crashed, the players are allowed to reload the earlier quick save. So it's going to reset the in-game time and put them back where they need to be as close as possible. But I hope it's not going to happen to anyone. Olniker is on, so we had just a tiny freeze frame at the end of level 5, but nothing major. They started level 6 here, and they're on to the rocket jump. Meanwhile, Fireman is clipping through those green walls, saving them a bunch of time because level 8 is so long. Wow, Olniker actually dies themselves. They kill themselves to the rocket jump and are going to start again, and that sucks actually. Meanwhile, Fireman is going to hack at the boss as fast as possible. The only tiny bit of RNG is whether the boss is going to use the shielding attack or not.
Yeah, well, the spin attack also can be a problem if they do it, if he does it too much. If he does the spin attack, it's a good opportunity to switch to your pulse rifle, which does, I think, a little bit more damage than your sword. It's pretty close and maybe a little easier to use, but once you run out of pulse ammo, you will lose quite a lot of time every time the boss decides to do the spin. So far, getting nothing but the most favorable patterns here. The best thing is definitely when the boss shakes the edge of the screen and knocks the spikes down. The finger guns are, you don't lose any damage on the boss, but I tend to get hit by every single one of these things. I just don't understand how to make them go away. It's very hard to keep track of where they are. We're finally now seeing the spin, so we're pulling out this pulse rifle. This is going to get in a bunch of damage, but immediately the shield, so the pulse rifle has to go away. Back to the sword. Meanwhile, Kerpuik is most of the way through the Oculus fight, maybe about halfway through here, at 4,195 health, is just waiting for the door to open, and is not starting with the pulse rifle, is just leading with the rocket launcher, so it's possible that they forgot to pick up some ammo. That's pretty common. You can find yourself with a much longer boss fight if you don't have enough pulse ammo.
Onlooker is at one of the sections that kill me the most at that button, and going into the skip here. Yeah, if you do take the shortcut, sometimes you will land in a crowded area full of enemies, and you're going to die. Exactly what happened to them. That's one of the deaths that caused the most in the run, sadly, having to backtrack all the way back where they were. Meanwhile, actually, Fireman is done, and the timer is great. I'm not sure, but we might be looking at a PB there. Yep. Oh,
1544. That is a 8-second PB for Fireman. Fantastic job. I was looking at the real-time run. I was like, no, there's no way it's a PB, but I forgot the loading times are pretty severe in this game. So
it's about 5
when you take
minutes.
those out, yeah. All right, Kerpikpik. I'm pretty sure this is the end of the Oculus boss fight here. Yeah, indeed. So is just ahead of Cute Shadow, who is halfway through this boss, which translates to, I don't know, it varies quite a bit because of the randomness of these boss patterns, but I would wager a guess to say 40 seconds ahead of Cute Shadow at the most.
I think Cute Shadow had a weird reset at the start of the streams. I don't know exactly what happened. I think they had no more ammo on boss 1, so they are a bit... The in-game timer is going to be a little bit wrong. Don't be surprised by that. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be timed, but meanwhile, Kerpikpik entered the boss with a nice rocket. If you were to enter with a charge rocket, you would softlock yourself because the area of damage is so huge that it kills yourself and then you respawn inside the boss fight, but you're not able to move or do anything, so be wary of that. Just one tiny rocket is enough. Anything more than that is going to crash the game. So, and then Kerpikpik is in, just a boss fight as normally as possible. Very underwhelming end fight, and sometimes it's going to kill you because it's still pretty easy to die here.
We found out that you have collision on the spikes if you try to shoot a rocket and they come down on top of you. So some pretty weird things can happen. Kerpikpik is no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kerpikpik is fighting the boss from the left side of the room. I don't like to do this because when he does the wall shake animation, it's always going to be right in your face, and I find it pretty hard to tell what's going on. Whereas, yeah, here, see, he clearly is doing it to the left. It makes it easier to read what attack this is. It's pretty difficult to tell the difference between these different attacks. You need to jump if he pounds the ground. You need to back up if he does the spin. You need to do nothing if he decides to shake the wall. And then you need to move somewhere, somehow. I haven't even quite figured out exactly what to do. If the boss does the finger guns. So it's not so easy to tell what he's doing, especially when you're so close with the sword, and it helps a little bit positioning yourself at the back of the fight. So I think as soon as Kerpikpik got the chance, just kind of repositioned himself here.
Yep, couple of hits will do. They don't have any pulsar ammo left, just a couple of... Oh no, 12 pulsar ammo. Will actually exactly do it. Nicely job. Nicely timed and done by Kerpikpik. So they are currently about 18 points ahead of Fireman. I'm not sure if they're going to keep the lead. Their PB on rack is 17:21, so that's going to be pretty close. They should be about 30 to 40 seconds around PB.
Question from chat, is this just a demo? No, this is the full game. It does end on a cliffhanger, though. I think they were expecting to maybe be able to put out a rack 2 or something, but
I think
didn't
there
really
is
like the world.
one.
There is?
Yeah,
no
there's
way.
a rack Exoverse. I'm not sure if it is the sequel or if it's just the same license in another setting, but there is something with the game. I don't know how well it works or what, but it's not the best first-person shooter ever, but there's still something. So Cute Shadow is done. I'm going to take a peek at their in-game time, and Onlooker is one level behind.
Yep, had a couple problems here, but it's hard to tell. There was a stream delay. There is loading times to factor in. Everyone's got different computers of different powers, but we can see the final time for Kerpikpik. If I maximize, 18:08 is the time for Kerpikpik. Their PB in rack is a 17:21, so just 40 seconds off. A pretty good race overall. I would be happy being 40 seconds off my PB in this game for sure. There's a lot of bad stuff that can happen. Very difficult to hit a number of skips in this game, so very well done by Kerpikpik. Cute Shadow is now going to reveal to us their final time in just a little bit. One more thing to button through here in this final cutscene, as Onlooker is opening up with the rocket launcher pretty quickly here. I can't tell if they're trying to preserve pulse ammo or not. They got 68, so they probably have enough to go for 2 full cycles left here, which would probably be enough, assuming we get the longer pattern here when the boss stays inside the room.
And no, you cannot rocket jump and clip into the the area with the boss. It has been tried, and there's an invisible wall, sadly. So you have to wait, suffer through the RNG, and wait slowly. So 17-16 for Cute Shadow in-game time, but once again, there might be a little bit of difference. Okay, so since they're reset at the start, they're going to add 2 minutes and 7 seconds, which is exactly the time spent in level 1 before the reset at the start of the race. And so the final time should be about 19 minutes and some change.
That's still about 50 seconds off of PB, so kind of on par in that way with Grip Week. Both of them should hopefully be fairly happy with that time. You know, when you're that far off your PB, and you can feel like maybe not so good. You know, you might be overall happy with it in terms of, you know, having to perform well over across 10 games. You know, you might think that it's not what you were hoping for, but it's like within acceptable standards maybe is. But it shouldn't be, because rack it's so hard to follow through on everything in this game that I think actually these are 40 seconds is like, you should be pretty happy with that, I think. But everyone's got their own standards. You can find people who are extremely hard on themselves. You can find some people. I mean, most people are extremely hard on themselves in the speedrunning community, I've found.
Yeah, speedrunners are so involved and want to do so well all the time. It's impressive.
All right, Pulse Rifle out here on the curve. Doesn't want to try to get the skip quickly. I haven't found a good way to do this consistently. Sometimes it just happens, and sometimes it just doesn't. So I totally respect wanting to clear out these enemies before attempting it. Doing it with pulse ammo is not something I would do, though. That's pretty valuable for the boss fight. Is going to go get the armor. This is just a nice little safety. Mm-hmm.
I like it though. Once again, it's not so hard of a boss fight, but it's not. You don't have any time to save here, so only time to lose. So playing safe means that you have even less chance of dying, and that you're not going to lose time here. Onlooker is PB is at 22 minutes, so we are close to PB. They took a couple of very heavy death, and it's an okay time. Considering that. So Galactron is a super long boss. You don't deal a lot of damage per second, so you have just to slowly and painfully hack at them, and you know it's not even showing that you're damaging them. It's just like tiny bits of HP taken off the health bar, and we should be done fairly quickly now.
Yeah, you can feel a little bit like an ant trying to take down an elephant in this fight, just wailing against this totally immovable thing that just kind of does whatever it does. But based off of the first half of that fight, Onlooker was moving very confidently, stayed in front, only moved when they had to, and during that time picked up health, picked up the pulse ammo. So like they were pretty aware of how to approach that fight optimally. So I'm sure the rest of it is going to go exactly as we saw. The times are now starting to be uploaded. It's going to be officially that 19:23 for Cute Shadow. Everyone losing a lot of points to Fireman, making a huge charge. We had a close battle between second and third. Now we have a close battle between first and second, thanks to an absolutely fantastic run of Rack by Fireman.
So 2 points between Kapupik and Fireman. Kapupik still keeps the lead, and Rack was like the big comeback for Fireman. So they did not quite make it, and I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen next, but it looks like it bodes super well for Kapupik. Fireman being 20 points behind in PBs in the Messenger. It's going to be the fourth time. Meanwhile, Onlooker is at the end of the game here and is done. So we are going to have their time added up, so no problem for them. And we're going to move quickly into Neo Turf Master, and their time is 22:56. That's a very good time for them, very close to PB, 50 seconds behind. So yeah, impressive all around, but Fireman had the upper hand, and plus Fireman getting a PB there just is exactly what they needed.
Those amazing tones are coming from the best game of the Ultimate Decathlon. It's Neo Turf Masters. We're golfing everyone. Check it out. It is a golf game. If you've seen a golf game before, you know exactly what to expect from Neo Turf Masters. It's what you don't know what to expect is the amazing sound design of this game. I mean, you're getting a taste of it now. This is just a taste. Wait till you hear some of the voice work in this game is top notch. It is a lovely game to play. It is a lovely game to speedrun, actually. Golf games as a speedrun turn into a very interesting, different sort of challenge that is really, really fun to try out. I really encourage you to just try to speedrun a golf game. And it feels really weird and frantic. You're doing math based off of the wind and the distance and you're trying to read all these numbers and process it, and the whole time you're losing time. Even just once you start to get really optimized, watching the swing meter fill up, if you're not ready to hit your shot by the time it's full, it's going to empty all the way back down and then come all the way back up, and that is time lost. So at the highest level, you need to make all your decisions on that first pass up to wherever you want to hit the ball. So it's not a lot of time. You need to be trying to think ahead as much as you can. With the wind changing even shot to shot, that can be extremely difficult sometimes.
So first things first, what's your advice golfer-wise?
Just in general, like
for
swing
2
from
days.
The hip,
for 2 days,
keep a firm grip on the club.
Oh no, I mean at the character. For 2 days race.
In terms of useful information for the players, probably I like the Japanese golfer Takahiro. I can never remember. Someone linked us all the names
the resource
of the golfers, and I didn't leverage it properly, and so for that I'm sorry. But the Japanese golfer is the best trade-off between speed and safety, I think. The Brazilian golfer is the fastest theoretically so far is what's kind of been posited by the community. Being able to hit the furthest shots, having the fastest moving meter, meaning less time spent waiting for the meter to fill up, certainly sounds pretty good, but his stats are so bad in terms of accuracy and putting that it can be very difficult to play optimally. So you sacrifice a little bit of time and power for a whole lot of precision with the Japanese golfer, but I bet you could probably get pretty close to both of them with just about any golfer, except the veteran or whatever. His stats just seem bad all around. So don't pick him. That's my biggest useful advice. Stay away from the UK golfer.
Yeah, the most we see are the Japanese golfers, probably number one in appearance in PBs, followed closely by the Brazilian guy. Then we've seen the American golfer a couple of times, and almost never the UK and the Australia were present in the PBs. But right now, I do think we are going to see only the Japanese golfer, Kapuk Big Fame and Cute Shadow Onlooker getting ready. The race should be starting soon, and we are going to play only through the Japan course. So it's all aimed toward putting. All the courses are the holes are fairly short. The longest drive expected is about 500 yards, which is not as the biggest, and the accuracy putting wise from the Japanese golfer is very, very meaningful in that course.
3 out of 4 players hitting a perfect shot on the first drive. It is really not so easy to get that perfect shot. I'm not sure if it's frame perfect. It feels like it for sure. There is a fair amount of delay. Wow, a fantastic shot from Cute Shadow right next to the pin. All the players are on the green, which is pretty much expected on the first hole. Putting in for birdie, totally expected, very, very close. But it is very easy for something to go wrong, missing a difficult putt and getting, maybe your hole is put in a difficult part of the green to reach. Sometimes the wind can be pretty strong, and sometimes it's not a factor at all.
Oh
Oh,
no,
Cute Shadow is barely gonna roll into that bunker.
I saw the ball and was like, it's going to be right on the edge, and actually no, and moves on to the sandwich, and is going to land directly on the next bunker. It's going to lose like 2 shots here, and sadly it's going to cost a lot. Fireman missing a shot, and meaning that Kerpukpik and Olnuker are in first place, tied very closely. Oh, Cute Shadow bouncing on the pin, sadly he's going to go for the bogey here, and each time you not going for a birdie or sometimes a par means that you are losing a lot of time.
Yeah, not only did you lose time hitting the ball extra times and whatnot, the game is an arcade game, really. So you need to score birdies in order to keep playing the game. Otherwise, you need to put more quarters in. Now the players have infinite virtual quarters, but it takes time to put them in. It's like a little game over-ish sequence where it starts trying to count you down, and even if you're mashing that button, the delay waiting for it to register is about 4 seconds or so. So those 4 seconds can happen multiple times over the course of a run, assuming you're not always getting those birdies. So it counts for double, basically, your mistakes, and you kind of have certain breakpoints on your mistakes. So far, it's been a really great run for Kerpukpik, who is now on the green. Holes on a slope here, that can be a little difficult to deal with.
On the bottom of the slope here, and he was almost like tangent to the slope with where they landed, so they did a great job. Cute Shadow very close to the pin all the time when they land on the green. Fireman going for par here, meaning they're once again losing even more time to Kerpukpik. Kerpukpik adjusting super quickly and sadly a bit too much, and maybe a bit too quickly, and landing out of bound.
Yeah, this is you can drive to the green in 2 here, so he's really trying to push, I think. But this 6-mile-an-hour wind is very difficult to deal with, especially when you're hitting a hooked shot the way that Kerpukpik was. So 228 yards away, it's going to be very difficult to reach the green. The wind is going to help out, and actually he's going to go too far and go out of bounds. It's so difficult to account for the wind and the change in elevation on the hole. Yeah, it's difficult, and Kerpukpik was not quite able to get there. Second one is going to land on the green, and that's going to be a little bit better than Cute Shadow, who currently finds themselves at the base of the hill, trying to chip up over it, and actually does a really good job.
It's not easy at all to come back from being downhill like that. Sometimes you're exactly stuck in the corner, and you're kind of done. Fireman getting out of bounds here near to the lake, while Olnuker goes for a very aggressive strat in hole 6 here, getting in the rough and not caring at all, landing on the green here, going for birdie, meaning they are about 1 shot ahead of the second being Fireman, landing on the green here. So Olnuker taking the lead, and that's exactly what they need. You know, getting, I think, 1 good game in a decathlon like that is a huge moral boost, and this is just the first qualifier in UD7, so you don't know how much the players are going to train and improve in the upcoming weeks. So Olnuker having a great start here is fantastic for them.
Cannot believe Fireman's putt just lipped out there, but is now on the 7th, trailing Olnuker. Cute Shadow and Kerpukpik just behind Fireman, joining him on the 7th now. They are both very close together, but the lead is firmly in Olnuker's hands with yet another birdie on this hole. It is one of the more straightforward ones, so we'll see how it goes. Looks like Fireman is going to have a very easy putt for birdie. Cute Shadow also driving up onto that hill, so another easy putt for them. Very well done by both of them. Kerpukpik is in the rough, so barring a fantastic putt/chip, is going to putt here out of the rough. It is a thing you can do in this game, and it's not going to get anywhere near the hole, but it's close enough to tap it in afterwards. Olnuker is going to land in the heavy rough. It is not going to be possible to... Wait, that was the second shot. I forgot how far ahead they are. They are already going to easily chip out of the heavy rough onto the green, and is lined up with the hole in a way that is very important, because the hole on a slope can be very difficult.
Oh, no, the green actually pushed them a little bit too far. That's okay. Going for par, and still ahead by quite a nice margin. Meanwhile, Fireman lands on the green, and keep an eye on how close the runners are to the pin each time they land on the green. That's a huge thing, actually. If you want to save time, you want to land exactly on the pin, obviously, so as close to the pin as possible is very, very important. You have to suffer less of the slow animation of the ball rolling on the green, and wow, Golden going for very aggressive sandwich out of the heavy rough here, and that's very difficult, but they nail it.
They needed that to stay ahead of Fireman. Q Shadow also is coming. Fireman nails their putt, so now just a couple seconds behind Alnicore due to a fantastic putt on the previous hole. Had a very long distance putt into a hole on a slope, and Alnicore making a mistake here, driving into the heavy rough on the first shot. So it is now extremely close between all three. Kerpikweek also is pretty close. Alnicore is going to roll into the bunker, but is close enough to the hole to chip out of it with a really, really hard shot here, I think. Oh, but you need to hit the shot. It's not so often you see a golfer completely miss their shot, but trying to hit a 2-iron out of a bunker like this, it can happen.
Oh, that's even too far. They underestimated the power of the iron, and sadly they are passed by Fireman. Fireman doing a great job at coming back here. Alnicore rolling back in the fairway, and yeah, they're losing a lot of time here. You can see how much time it costs to just play a single hit in Neo Turf Master when you're speedrunning the game.
Water hazard for Firemen. They are not going to try to play it from there. That is something you can do. I've done it like once or twice. I have no idea what it takes to hit it, like how the water affects your ball. Like I just kind of generically hit it in some direction. Again into the water, also taking the penalty here, but is going to be able to hit from the fairway. His 2-mile-an-hour wind is not going to be enough to stop this ball from landing right next to the hole. It's one thing to make a mistake in Neo Turf Masters. It's another to not be able to play out of that mistake. It's kind of different skill sets required in staying the course on what your route is, and then being able to fix it after it goes off course. Because if you can't fix it afterwards, you can get in some really nasty situations. And that was really well done by Fireman.
Hole 12 for Fireman leading here the pack. It's a weird one with a bunker awkwardly placed here. You want to land a little bit further so you bounce on the green, and no problem for Fireman. Very, very close to the pin once again. Alnicore was ahead by so much, and here they lost all their lead in hole 11, sadly having to give up and moving onward, but Fireman is already done with the next one, and look how Q Shadow is 27 centimeters away. That's 10 inches from the hole, so close. And Fireman starting hole 13, and now the game is going to get super complicated. The hole and the courses, the maps are getting so weird. They would never happen in a normal golf course, but this is, I don't know, it's meant to have like a nice difficulty curve, and starting hole 14, 15, 16 are pretty difficult to do cleanly.
Yep, it is kind of the Widowmaker at the end here. A lot of good runs die on these holes. Fireman is going to be the first one to start to reach them here. The 14th is just a chip here, but this green is very small, and then very quickly it turns from rough to straight out of bounds. So if you have a lot of wind on this hole and you're off the mark, then it's very easy to wind up totally out of bounds on a shot that on many other holes would have probably been okay. Alnicore in a tough situation, trying to hook it around a tree. We'll see if they do it. No, they were too close to the tree. It does get caught up in it. It was kind of the perfect distance away to have no chance of dealing with that situation, but did not end up in the water or out of bounds or anything. So did have a clean shot afterwards, and able to chip to the green, and then just barely missing a putt. They need those putts really badly now in order to stay on pace with everyone. Is on pace with Cute Shadow, and both of them just a little bit ahead of Kerpikweek, but Fireman is almost 2 holes ahead.
Everyone missing their putts right now. I don't know what's happening. But yeah, Fireman is doing a great job at keeping the lead, although they cannot make so many mistakes like that, so everybody is putting back a quarter in the machine and moving onward. Hole 15 with a tiny fairway in the middle, Kucha doing a great job at clearing that, and Fireman onto the dreaded hole 16. The hill at the start of the track here is awkwardly placed. If you try to make it in one drive, it's going to be difficult. Oh, Fireman going a little bit too far, landing in a rough here. It should not be too bad. They're going to put as much weight as they can. Oh no!
I disagreed with that. As soon as he's hit that ball straight on, these trees are going to be a problem. We'll see how he's able to handle with this, and that was not a good way to handle it. Fireman's first shot on this hole is one of the hardest to hit in the entire game, and he nailed it. He laid up behind the hill and over the bunker and on the fairway, around some trees even. So like it is an extremely difficult shot, and he hit it, and then he hit it just a little bit too far on the second shot, and now look what it's led to. He's basically has no chance of finishing the hole here, so he's just wailing it against this tree. He's trying to chop the tree down, I think, with the golf ball to get it out of his way, and it didn't quite work out. So his final shot here is going to be his last. They're going to kick him off the course after you get up to 8 strokes on a hole. A huge amount of time lost. Everyone is catching up. Alnacour is able to drive on top of the hill with their shot. This posts them in a pretty good position. They're hitting full speed here. This is almost certainly going to be in the middle of all this mess that Fireman was in. So this is, again, the same thing from Alnacour. A fantastic first shot, followed by a disastrous second shot. We'll see how they're able to handle this situation.
Meanwhile, Kerpukui is having a lot of trouble starting the hole 16 here, landing out of bounds multiple times. And Curchetto is doing a great job on hole 17, so taking the lead, and that's exactly what they need. There are about 30, actually 20 points behind Kerpukui and
Fireman. Okay, so on the 18th hole, tied Cute Shadow and Fireman. Cute Shadow's out of bounds. Fireman is right next to this tree. The tree slows his ball down. It's not enough to get over the water. He's out of bounds. Cute Shadow is now still on the tee, trying to drive and post the ball up on this hill. This shot is perfect for Cute Shadow, and Fireman is now going to chip on the rough here. Both of them can hit to the green on this next shot, so they're basically tied, taking extremely weird ways to both get to their situations. An easier putt here for Cute Shadow, but it could come down to Fireman sinking this and Cute Shadow missing. Cute Shadow gets it. Is going to finish in first.
Actually.
Man, what a crazy finish.
All right. That was weird. That was actually way weirder than a lot of races. Meanwhile, Alnacour is a little bit stuck on hole 18 here. Being downhill once again is not an easy situation. They're going to try to drive it as far as possible, but it's not going to be far enough. So now what do? You should try to put it on top of the hill, but it's not so easy. So, oh no, they make it across the water. Nicely done.
We'll see if they decide to putt or chip out of the rough. Putt is the option. It goes right past the hole. Generally, you count on the ball hitting the pin in that situation. I don't think I've ever seen anyone putt directly in from that situation. I'm sure it's happened, but I haven't seen it. Most of the time, it hits that pin. If it misses the pin, likely you hit it way too hard, and that exact thing can happen, as we saw from Alnacour. Kupikweek is kind of catching up here, actually. I'm not sure exactly if Alnacour is done or not. Their screen has gone dark, but we do know, in fact, that Kupikweek has finished. It's about a 14:30, which is a fairly solid time. I think everyone was hoping to get under 14 minutes, but racing this game can be pretty tough sometimes.
All right, so we're going to see the effect the game has on everybody's ranks here. But Fireman with 1406 here is above the 200 per game average, which is fantastic. Their total PB on the Indy UD is about 2004, which is barely above 2000 per game. So feels like they can aim for that right now. Okay, everybody's in there. And actually, Fireman took the lead by quite a lot. Kupikweek trailing behind with a 14:29 that cost them a lot of points. and Cute Shadow is exactly 20 points behind Fireman now.
This is kind of expected here. Fireman is definitely the best of the bunch when it comes to both Rack and Neo Turf Master. Really capitalized on Rack and did pretty good on Neo Turf Master, especially compared to Capri. No, I take it back. 1320 is great. That's a great time. So, did jump ahead of Kirby, but it is pretty evenly matched over the next two games in Kirby and VVV, but it is the Messenger that is Fireman's biggest weak point. Has a 40-56 for a PB. It is a full 20 points behind Kirby's PB in that game, and even more behind Cute Shadow. So both of them will be looking to make up some big ground in that game, and it's one of 3 games left. We're very, very close to the end of the qualifying tournament for these 4 players. Again, a reminder, these 4 players, their times will be added to everyone competing on Saturday, and whoever the top 6 are will be the ones moving on to qualify for grand finals as we get ready with the lovely, adorable intro to everyone's favorite pink puffball, Kirby's Dream Land.
What do you think the bar is? How high do you think the bar is set, considering everybody's result here for Saturday's races? Do you think a lot of people are going to aim to beat Fireman and Kirby's time? How high are they going to stay on the Saturday's leaderboard?
It depends who comes out to play, right? If Devil Tiva and Taker and Mala Man and Soggy Tooth, and I think they probably will come out, it's going to be very tough to stay in the top 6, I feel. And even, I don't know, I probably wouldn't be thinking that far ahead. I would probably just be trying to race my race the way that I planned to race it a long time ago, based off of the time and strats that I learned and just felt comfortable with. So as much as I love players to make these sorts of adjustments and play the other people more so than just play the game, maybe not more so, but play the other people as well as just play the games. I really like that in as sort of an extra layer when it comes to a live competition like this, but generally it's just so much more important to do what you're used to.
Yeah, that's not what I was going with. I don't think anyone here should adjust, especially considering the UD7 lineup. There's not much mind games or decisions you can take. It's all about doing the best you can and optimizing as much as you're able to, especially with games like Kirby's Dream Land coming up next. So the players will go and look how close it is PP wise. It looks like the leaderboard from Trackmania.
Yeah, that's right. This is another game where it's not so hard to get under, say, 14 minutes, but it is quite difficult to get under 13 minutes. So a lot of players land in that 13 to 14 minute range. These guys are all no exception. It should make for a pretty good race. Of course, as we always say with Kirby's Dream Land, there's a couple bosses where randomness plays a pretty big role. The timer's getting a bit of a head start here, but don't worry about that one. The RNG certainly is a factor, and these guys are all pretty close, so it might be a bigger factor in this one race overall. But really, in the grand scheme of things, especially in the grand scheme of a full decathlon, the impact of this is pretty minor in terms of raw time. However, it could be just frustrating, when you're waiting for Krakow to do the thing that lets you actually play the game. It can be a little mentally taxing, so hopefully the players are able to deal with that. If it happens, really us as viewers, we're really just hoping whatever the RNG is, it's the same for every player. Yeah.
You don't want to see one guy being stuck on Krakow for 10 minutes while all the other 3 are done. We've never seen super long fight. As viewers, the time passes not the same as when you're running, and we've seen like very long DDD fight, especially Ghost Death has been super unlucky in the previous few streams. We've seen them running Kirby, but overall it takes about maybe 10 to 20 seconds lower than the others. But when you're running and you're losing 20 seconds to nothing, just pure RNG, took you a bad turn for you, it's super frustrating. So let's see how well Kirby's right now treats all the players. But first, you have to get back into the rhythm of playing Kirby, and I think the first level is going to be pretty difficult to adjust to if you're not super practiced with the game, because you have so many enemies and so many things to do perfectly to move on quickly. And do remember, the players have played and run 6 games just before that, so it can be a little bit taxing.
Yeah, and this and VVV are both very memorization taxing in that particular way. You need to know exactly what you're going to do in each of these screens in Kirby here, because if you start vacuuming up the wrong enemies and killing using that to kill the wrong enemy, then you will find yourself with too many enemies on screen at once, and the lag generated from this will start to really drag. It's sometimes there are games where like people will do things to reduce lag, but we're talking like frames. But in Kirby's Dream Land, it's on the order of seconds. You can very easily see the screen just slow to a crawl if things start to go bad. So the players are doing very specific actions to keep the sprite count under control and reduce that lag. But it does mean you need to know exactly, jump here, gab this guy, spit this guy, and if you forget something in that flow, you will find yourself losing 4 or 5 seconds to lag alone on that screen, and that can be enough to decide a Kirby race. These PBs are all extremely close.
The viewers are getting worried because Olniker had a little bit of troubles at the start. Don't worry, the players do submit their own race time, and if the timer or the time difference is too big or too weird with the actual race bot timer, can be have to take a decision. But usually we have like down to the second the exact time from the runner's perspective, so don't worry too much. And they're going to race from behind, but it's going to be hard to not guess that they're exactly tied with everybody else, considering how close it is. Fireman has the lead, exiting the first fight against Lololo here and moving on through the castle. They're not going for the curry, which is probably the smarter decision considering how hard it is to get the curry kill on Lololo and Lalala.
Yep, looks like we're passing up on curry for pretty much everyone. It might be Olniker who does it, if anyone. But for now, we're hoping on getting some decent patterns. Probably we're going to be getting 1 hit per cycle here. Fireman has an opportunity to get more than 1, but is not going to try to push for it. If the characters line up such that you can very quickly hit 1 and then have a clean path to get to the other and vacuum up their box, just having the box can help you out a little bit, but really you want to be able to also hit the boss on that cycle as well. It is very difficult to get a double hit, but it is possible, and it does save a fair bit of time. Oh, missed shot for Capri Quick. Very unfortunate.
That was
and
weird.
2 now.
Oh, wow. And, yeah. Oh, no!
3?
What happened?
Oh,
What's
boy.
happening? Capri Quick.
It's rattled. Come on now.
Yeah.
Get it together.
They had
there we
only
go.
3 HP left. Yes, so I'm not sure why they were so worried they're going to go aggressive here, but still losing a little bit of time. Fireman is still pulling ahead. Once again, Fireman's goal here is to save as much time as possible, because they know they're going to lose a lot of points on the messenger. So moving very quickly is Fireman through Kirby's 3rd level here, going towards Kabula as fast as possible. It's not too hard of a stage. The harder part of Kirby is micro-optimization. For example, you don't want to swim. Capri Quick is doing a great job at showing that. You don't want to fly, you want to swim, because flying is so slow in that game. Same thing, you don't want to have too many things on screen, you don't want to spit out too many stars, because it's slowing the game so much. So it's all about doing exactly the same thing all the time and to save all the frames.
Fireman in the lead currently with the lovely yellow, pink, purple color palette. You probably noticed the colors are a little bit different. The emulator they're playing on lets them choose the palette. I think there's one in there that is just called like Kirby or something. So that has been a more popular one. The total black and white, of course, probably the most popular, the most straightforward. But I kind of like the feel I'm getting from Fireman's color palette. It of course comes up every time. As well as gameplay, we're also judging everyone's artistic scores, so that will be added to their scores at the end. A rating from 0 to 100. So, not the case. What is the case is how fast you are able to complete this game. Fireman is doing a great job.
Nice.
Very, very good Kibble fight.
Very quickly, yeah. Staying close to Kibble and getting all your hits to land is pretty tricky. You want to kill Kibble before the charge. Kuchado just showing how close they were to getting that window. And Quick having a great fight as well, so it's very close between all three of those players. We can assume that it's going great for Onlooker, considering they started about 46 seconds late, and they are just enjoying the Kibble fight here, so it is close behind. Meanwhile, Fireman is walking, under all those enemies unarmed. There's a lot of that in Kirby's Dream Land, just knowing exactly that you are safe, not doing anything, not jumping, not trying to kill the enemies, and just moving along is going to save you a lot of time. Kuchado is... I feel like Kuchado is catching up with Fireman now.
Yeah, it was... on the screen alone, I was thinking that Fireman was... he was flying a lot more than he had to on that second. I was wondering if things were going to start to shift in some of these other players' favors, and then looked over and Kuchado was on the same screen even, very, very close. Is down to 3 health now, but it's still 1 more than Fireman, who is actually taking some time. These enemies here, it's very easy to take damage from some of these enemies, like Kuchado just did, actually. So now, along with Kerpweek, everyone down to 2 health in this section. Up now to...
hit.
Oh, man. This is scary. This guy's scary. This guy's scary. It's he's just absolutely waiting out that cycle. This is maybe smart, but, these are seconds lost now.
Yeah, it's so easy to lose time in Kirby, considering how close is everyone. You can really compare the game to a racing game. Every single second is going to be hard to save and hard to get along. So you need to practice in those and save time. And if you have to take a difficult decision like Quick did just earlier, to take your time to save your health and not die, it's just a complicated time for you. Kuchado was so close behind the Fireman, and they are trailing now a little bit. I don't know exactly what happened, but once again, all those seconds coming by quickly. Quick still behind Kuchado by quite a margin, and Onlooker, it must be around those times as well, if you adjust for the time lost at the start. So Fireman is going to be the first entering the dreaded Krakow fight.
Different approaches from every player coming out of that room with low health. Fireman opted to pick up the potion, which is the fastest option for just a little bit of health. Kuchado dipped down and grabbed the maximum tomato for the full health refill, and Kerpweek, with 1 health, skipped everything and is going to die on the boss here intentionally to refill their health. So very interesting to see that happen from all these players. But they're now in this Krakow fight. We have 4 hits for both Fireman and Kuchado, 3 now for Fireman, so is ahead, but now but still ahead by 1 hit, and is now ahead by 2 because the blessed spirit of RNG has smiled upon Fireman. Another hit to finish it off. Kuchado looking for 1 more, not quite going to get it. Kerpweek still needs 4 here. 3 now, 3 behind, heading into out of Krakow rather, as Onlooker is chewing their way through the blocks with that curry. That was a pretty even RNG between everyone. I think Kerpweek may be getting a little bit worse here.
Alright, so after Kibula in the first 4 level, you're going to go back and get a mini boss rush. Each of those doors is a tiny level, very, very short, and then a refight of the previous boss. So Fireman and Kuchado started with low and a refight here, so you have to do exactly the same thing as we've done just a couple of minutes ago, and nothing major is happening. You have no opportunity to grab the curry here, so you have to do the fight as cleanly as you know. Kuchado is actually saving a lot of time compared to Fireman here. They're almost tied now.
did manage to get a double hit on this fight. Very, very difficult to execute on that. You need a bit of luck, and then even when you get it, you need to react that you do have a pattern that you can capitalize on, and then execute on it. It is not so easy. You need to be very close to the box when you vacuum it up in order to reduce the time you're spent standing still, and then just be very clean on your inputs. You cannot delay at all. So very well done by Cute Shadow. Very, very close now between the two. It will be hard to tell as Fireman has gone to fight Krako and Cute Shadow has gone to Wispy Woods. They will sync back up after they trade and defeat the other's boss. So it was only then that we'll see who has the lead going into DDD. Given that it's so straightforward in both the levels and the Wispy Woods boss, it's likely going to be, if they're not together, it's Krako's fault.
Yeah, pretty much. But Krako apparently is being nice with everybody. You have to consider all those random boss fights compared to average chance. If you are comparing with your split, obviously you are always almost going to lose time because your PB, after, if you've practiced and ran enough the game, you're going to have a very, very good RNG on your PB, and on your average run, you're always going to lose time. So it's hard not to get biased when you race and you have your split showing up bad times, but sometimes you actually are lucky and still losing 5-10 seconds on the boss fight. So it's you have to stay calm with RNG because it's so easy to blame, but it's going to affect everybody else, so it's not too important. Very good couple of fights on Kapukpuk, and Fireman is going for the same thing here, and I'm not sure, I feel like maybe Kapukpuk still has one boss to go, or oh no, they died. But I feel like they're ahead of Fireman. I'm not sure. Yeah, they were ahead of Fireman. What happened in that?
I missed something.
Yeah,
Krako must have been a fantastic RNG, I guess. I'm definitely snuck up on me a little bit. Cute Shadow is indeed in the DDD fight, so is one Wispy Woods ahead of both Fireman and Kapukpuk. We'll see how this goes. We need either the hammer or the jump attack. So that's what we just saw, actually, all in a row. But too close to the edge of the screen to make use of the hammer. We're looking for the star that the hammer spits out. And so you do need to be sort of in front of the hammer. If there's no room in front of the hammer, you're just going to get hit and you're probably not going to get a star for your troubles. Health also is a concern here. Cute Shadow is down to 3, which is, it's better than you can have sometimes, especially having to fight Kabula as one of the 4 bosses. So has got pretty good patterns so far, and now it's starting to be not so good. I think that's 4 unusable attacks in a row now. Make it 5.
Yep. So everybody's catching up. Fireman is 3 HP behind, but everybody is having quite of a bit weird luck here. Krako is going for a lot of non-punishable attacks, and then doing a nice set of hammer soups here for Cute Shadow, and final hit will do it. So Cute Shadow lands 13:10 approximately time, which is pretty good.
Yeah, that is a great time. Their PB in Kirby is 13 flat, so very, very close. Going to be pretty happy, I think, with that time. Fireman takes a hit here, but has plenty of health to take this hit. It's just a matter of the time lost flying across the screen before DDD does another attack. Gets the hammer here, only needs one more. Not going to get it. Kapukpuk also dealing with the vacuum here, is not going to get one. Fireman not as well. Alnikur entering the fight. I have no idea how to judge Alnikur's position relative to the others, given the late start. It could be that Alnikur is right there with them. Well, we'll have to just kind of wait and see once the final time comes in. Fireman has found the last hit. Kapukpuk looking for one more. Here it is.
I think Alnikur is ahead of both Fireman and Kapukpuk, considering they started 46 seconds late. They're actually doing great. But Krako has to give them the correct patterns, or they're not going to be able to deal any damage. But here we go. That's pretty good. 3 attacks left. Make that 2.
Doing a really good job on the execution in this fight.
They're not getting trapped by Krako. It's so easy when they attacked quickly like that, rushing at you just to lose health. I have no idea how many HP they have, but that doesn't matter. They're going to be sub 14 here.
Probably not the time they were hoping for. Their Kirby PBs of 13:38. So that's wait. I forgot. The timer is late. This is going to come in, 40 seconds faster than it appears. I think actually. So when this does pop up, I will cure. Okay, 13:56 actually is pretty good, especially considering their PBs of 13:38. They should definitely be happy with that. Actually, faster than Kupwik. And the overall leaderboard is pretty interesting here. 11 points ahead is Fireman, very close between Kupwik and Cute Shadow. And like we said before, very likely Fireman will lose ground on our final game, The Messenger. So factoring that in, it's very close between these top three. I have no idea who's going to walk away with it.
Yeah, I would not bet anything, like taking a big risk would be to say, hey, Kupwik is going to win, or Fireman, or Cute Shadow. Between the three, it's going to be down to VVV and The Messenger. The Messenger, you can bet on Cute Shadow getting a better time PB-wise, but Cute Shadow has had a lot of PBs today, so maybe he's going to push that lead even further. But obviously, as the lower your time, the easier it is to get a PB, so maybe Fireman is going to come from 40 minutes to 37, and that's going to be an insane increase in score. I don't know. First is going to be VVV, and Fireman has the lead on that one. Their PB is 1656, compare that to the 1855 of Cute Shadow. It is a very difficult game to race and to learn if you have not practiced room by room and overall how it chains together. It can be pretty hard to get into, and I think it would be way better for everyone to have that game earlier, but isn't that true for every single game?
Yeah, it is. This one in particular, I've got 2 games left to really drill down and learn. It's this and Out There Somewhere, and this was the first one I've tackled of the 2. I'm still in the process of learning, and it is hard. This is the hardest game for me to learn of the bunch. The memorization aspect of this is brutal. The names of the levels and the colors and the positions. There are very few levels screens that flow together naturally, at least in my mind. So I almost never know what screen is coming up next, and it takes so long in order, for me at least, and I'm probably not alone in memorizing what screens are going to come next. And it's incredibly important because there are many screens where you need to be doing something on the previous screen to prepare for it. You need to flip and get on the ceiling instead of the floor, something like that. There are many screens where you're rushing to make a cycle, and if you hesitate when you enter the room, you're not going to make that cycle, and there goes an extra 2 seconds. Or the cycle gets desynced from another cycle, and now you're very likely gonna die even and lose 7-8 seconds. So it is a very tough game for that reason. Just the memorization reason alone. And then you factor in that your little character moves really fast in this game. It can be actually very precise to control this little teal colored captain. I don't know his name actually. Does the captain have a name?
Your name is Viridian, if I recall correctly.
Oh, okay.
I should check that. But I think all the 6 crew members have a name that starts with V, hence the name. But I'm not big on the game, game lore.
On the lore?
Yeah. I should have my notes on every single game story. On The Messenger, it would be like a booklet of 200 pages.
I would have thought the green guy would be Viridian. Why did they do that? Anyway,
let me get all the names.
I mean, it's confirmed here from Red Armor, who is a source I trust to know these things. Green is verdigris. I'm not familiar with. Vermilion is red. I think makes sense if I remember the color vermilion. And then blue's not a color at all. That's just a person's name, Victoria.
Victoria, yeah, it's not a color. But fun fact, Verdigris is in love with Dr. Violet. So here we go. I have a lore trivia.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
All right, we're off.
Let's go.
Very difficult game to play because it moves so fast, and also there's some tricks, some cycle skips, some last minute frame perfect flips to get underneath a platform or something that you I wouldn't expect to be able to do. I think probably we'll see firemen start to go for some of these. I don't know if we'll see everyone do it. It can be a source. It can be a way to gain time. It can be a way to lose time if you are not consistent enough at it. So let's find out.
All right, so the checkpoints are going to be all around the world here, but you don't want to die nevertheless, because it's still going to cost you a little bit of time, plus you have the animation of actually dying, plus it's going to happen so often that any death is going to add up to all the other deaths you're going to have, and especially on certain rooms that can cost a lot. So first off, surround the ship here. It's a cool intro, it's not too long, it's not too difficult, you have the opportunity to get back into the groove of things, but the fact that everything chains back together so quickly, wow, nice skip by Cube Shadow here, getting the correct flip. Meanwhile, Allmaker does the room normally, well, as intended, I would say, and moving on, Cube Shadow is in the lead here. Well, actually, nope, it's Fireman. Leave up the ship first. It's so close between those two. Cube Shadow is down, and Allmaker should be in a couple of rooms.
Fireman also hit that first try skip on that platform. Very few deaths in the first section. It's not too hard to get through the first Space Station 1 sequence here without a death, but afterwards the difficulty kind of ramps up after what I think of as sort of a tutorial section here. Even if the only thing it has to teach you is there's a flip button. You have 3 inputs in this game total. You have left, right, and flip, and that's it. So the game doesn't really have too much to teach you. It's just kind of slowly ramping up the difficulty. So likely you can tackle these next sections of the game in any order you want, but you will get different text and backstory based off of who you save in which order, because your 4 crew members are scattered out throughout this crazy twisted dimension. So for text reasons, everyone is probably going to be going to the Space Station 2 section first. Fireman is the first one there, Cute Shadow just behind. Alnikur and Kerpuik are the same screen right now. It is ridiculous. All right, there. Alnikur forgets what screen is coming up next, bumps up against the wall a little bit, but does not touch the spikes. And there's a death. I think the first one for Fireman. Oh, another one. The lead change. Cute Shadow waiting, still ahead.
Oh, Cute Shadow dying, and I don't know. It's hard to tell now. It's so close, tied to the frame. Oh, Cute Shadow is a little bit ahead. Nobody is going for the skip here, and you don't want to die getting the flip quickly. Oh no, Fireman dies. Did not take the checkpoint, letting so much lead to Cute Shadow here. Kerpuik is in the same room as Fireman actually, and Cute Shadow dies to the lies here, and Fireman back.
He got it. He got the Gordian knot flip. It is one of the hardest things to do. He is able to capitalize it on the second time, which is very cool. But you can see now, because Kerpuik was right there with him, you can see that even though he did this difficult strat, failing it once meant that he already lost more time than he gained doing it. So the risk involved with these things is pretty high, considering the minor time savings they give you.
Yeah, the skips and the tricks in the game don't save much time. Mohawk did one run with no difficult strat or flips like that, and still got sub 16. So it's all about saving a few seconds and never dying. And I don't know. The game is still has a lot of mystery to me, because it's so hard to lose time, and it's so difficult to save just a second that it's down to the frame sometimes, and you have just a split second to remember exactly what you're going to do. You'll see the runners very, very often stunned for just a little while, entering a room, trying to realize what they're supposed to do, and moving on. And removing that time is going to save a lot of time overall in the run. Cute Shadow is the first to finish the first level here, but followed very, very closely by Kerpuik.
Alnikur and Fireman actually pretty close together. Fireman going with a very aggressive strat. In this room, I didn't see the name of it, and I haven't memorized that part yet, but it is a very difficult room with these platforms. There's a number of different ways you can approach that room based off of how safe you want to be, and it's tough. It's tough to react to trying to flip to the next platform or wait until you're above it and then walk off onto it. having to decide between those two things as they're moving can tax your brain a little bit. But moving on to the second section here, Cute Shadow ahead, going through the belly of the snake here. Going to be joined very shortly by Creepweek in the tower, which is one of the most memorable parts of the game, I think, and is a lot of fun and is much easier than a lot of the other stuff when you are speedrunning. There's enough time to get into position for the next jump that you need to do. And as long as you memorize the one or two spots where you need to run really quickly in order to stay ahead of the screen, you're totally fine. However, if you want to really optimize it, you can take some checkpoints right before you land on these spikes and die. Get warped ahead from the checkpoint to force the scrolling a little faster. Because you take time when you die, it doesn't save as much time as you think, but it does save a little, and it's very difficult to do, and if you mess it up, you die without hitting the checkpoint, so very, very risky. Not surprised to see none of it so far.
Very mesmerizing to see those runners go through the tower as it's slowly scrolling vertically. Nobody's making any mistakes so far. Onlooker is going to catch up with them entering the tower soon, and one of the advice in the tower is not to go too fast. If you try to save time, you cannot. It's just an auto-scroller, so usually you will rush a little bit and bonk your head on the spikes on the ceiling or the floor. So, Kichel takes a tiny death here, as barely clipping the spike, and just before the checkpoint, Sally is going to set them back just a little bit.
Almost my dream of seeing the top screen feed directly into the bottom screen of players on this section. I want it to happen at least once during the season. That was almost it, but Creepweek also made a mistake and dropped back here, so is behind Cute Shadow by just a little bit. Onlooker and Fireman are also here in the tower. Onlooker a little bit behind Fireman. Is pretty close now, is caught up a little bit. I don't think he died in the tower, and we saw deaths from both Creepweek and Cute Shadow. So all of them now have saved Vermilion and are going into the first intermission section here, which is a weird space in between the dimensions. Something has gone wrong with the teleporter. We find ourselves here and we need to get out.
Nothing works properly in the game. That's one thing you have to remember. And Cute Shadow's movement apparently didn't work quite well either, because we just passed them here. So the Reds... I'm obsessed with the names now, but your red friend is going to move only when you touch your feet touch the ground, and if you are stuck to the ceiling, they're not going to move. So you use that to manipulate them to move on through the levels without dying themselves. And sometimes it's harder than the others. But Fireman just passed Cute Shadow as well, so Cute Shadow having a little bit of trouble in the intermission here. That's costing them quite a bit.
Doing the pretty safe strat here. Yeah, Creepweek is going to be able to flip here on the platform. Very aggressive end to this strategy, which is pretty risky considering you just spent all that time helping your friend across. So very well done. We'll see what Cute Shadow decides to do. Nice. Also decides to flip. You have a bit more room there than in some of the other cases, but it is still risky. Oh, Fireman
again.
That's just this game, and that's just this room in particular. Not as I do is one of the toughest, trickiest rooms with some of the most time loss in the game. I don't think we'll see anyone do the absolute fastest strat where you both go across the top together, manipulating your follower to stay close enough to not fall on any of those platforms is incredibly difficult.
Shadow is going to follow Creepweek through the overworld here. Creepweek is in the lead, going towards the warp zone. That's going to be the third and maybe one of the hardest, maybe the hardest level here, with some of the screens are super tricky to navigate. Plus, all the screens are going to be just one fixed screen and no way to reset the cycle. So if you mess up, it's going to be pretty complicated to reset or to get a new pattern that you can navigate properly. First, he has to get through the maze here, but a maze is not necessarily the worst thing in a speedrun if you know exactly how to navigate. Maze, no problem whatsoever for Creepweek. So here we go. The gimmick is the screen is fixed and you have to find the correct exit. Except for that, the top is going to be connected to the bottom and the left to the right. So you are stuck in a single screen And oh, Kapuku gets trapped here, and alright, he's not going to get the checkpoints. There's a little bit of confusion here, and he's going to move on.
Just does it the absolute fastest way after that, doing the cycle skip. It's not too hard to hit that cycle. It's probably easier than trying to do that the regular way, actually. It's not so easy to stay in step with those little robot friends. Looks like we're getting a death here on this pink section. You want to make sure you cross that screen on the bottom so that you kind of get halfway through the following screen. Kerpwig moving very quickly now through some of these screens. Also getting this skip past the little red triangles, not so easy. This is some confident movement after some weird hesitations and some back and forth, messing around with the checkpoint. The rest of the warp zone so far has gone extremely well, but we're on to some of the toughest rooms now.
Shadow is having a little bit of time loss here and there in all the screens, but overall it's moving pretty quickly. Still falling Kapuku by behind a couple of screens. Kapuku taking the death here, and I Love You is a difficult screen, but not as much as That's Why I Have to Kill You. Big shout out to Bennett40 that gave all the names to those screens that are pretty funny overall.
Very, very well done in the warp zone by Kerpwig. Cute Shadow is almost done as well. Is going to wait for that extra cycle on that heart there. Wanted to make sure that they would not get tagged by it. Dying in both I Love You and That's Why I Have to Kill You is really bad because the hearts are on different cycles, and that's exactly what just happened to Fireman. So we'll see how he deals with this now. He's going to have to wait and line this up because, yeah, those hearts are there at the top if you try to just go. So having to wait and eyeball that and line that up is pretty tough. Speaking of pretty tough, Kerpwig has entered the Gravitron.
All right, that's time to bet on how many times they'll die. Usually the runners have, now, I don't know, average to 4-5 deaths on those screens. You have a checkpoint every 5 seconds, and you have to move through those in between those two lines that are all going to flip the gravity, and dodging those squares is not so easy, as demonstrated by Cute Shadow that dies. Starting at second 30, the squares are going to come from both left and right, and now it's a mind game. It's insanely difficult to dodge all those, and Kapuku does a great job passing the 25 minutes, 25 seconds, 25 minutes. Can you imagine? 25 second checkpoint here. A bit stuck, forced death already, but nope, it's going to barely clipped in the top of the head.
Nice to have this very clean timer indicating exactly how far behind Fireman is compared to Cute Shadow. Cute Shadow is still stuck in the 30 to 20 section here, whereas Kerpwig is past it, so is going to be able to kind of break ahead a little bit here, unless Cute Shadow can clutch it. Oh, he's back to 25 seconds, but did push down from 30 at least. Fireman is in a pretty good position here, just 10 seconds behind Cute Shadow. Kerpwig is now still lost 5 whole seconds.
Kerpwig just had so many costly deaths here. Cute Shadow and Fireman are catching up. Yeah, Kerpwig finally done, but lost so much. They entered the Gravitron about 30 seconds earlier than Cute Shadow, and Fireman was way behind, and now the time difference is about 20 seconds between those runners, maybe.
All right, should be pretty straightforward finish for Fireman. No, wait, the next pattern came and caught him way off guard, so he's going to need to navigate a little bit here. Oh, getting tagged again. Fireman had navigated through some of the toughest stuff in the Gravitron better than Cute Shadow and Kerpwig, I think, but got caught up on some of the easier stuff. Overall, I think probably saved a little bit of time in the Gravitron, but I think all three players probably not feeling too great about how that went. That was an awful lot of deaths.
Yep. But onto the lab. The lab is an easy and good end to the run here. It's not quite done after the lab, but it's the final level proper. So it's full of spikes and those white lines that flip the gravity as soon as you touch them. And if you know exactly what you're doing, some of the rooms are pretty difficult, but there are many tricks to pass them efficiently, so the players are going to usually have an okay time with the level overall. For example, here you can just keep on moving if you set you up correctly, and same thing for those obstacles here. Very well done by Quick. We've seen a lot of runners dying on those blue circles, but Quick moving on without slowing down at all. It's very hard on VVV to be able to keep on going and smoothly change all the screens together.
That was a fantastic lab from Quick. Cute Shadow and Fireman just giving them no chance to catch up here. A couple small hesitations from Fireman, making sure they grab that checkpoint. No deaths on the green little bouncy triangles or the blue circles for either player. Also having very good labs themselves. I noticed like one small hesitation. Cute Shadow was kind of off cycle there on a difficult chord and didn't get the checkpoint because it's on the ceiling and you usually come through on the floor. So it does set you back quite a ways. Missing it again the second time. Third time now, Cute Shadow is falling behind. Fireman is just behind Quick, who is still in the lead here. Going through the final section, we're alone now. All our crew's rescued, but we got sent somewhere weird. And to get out of here, we're gonna have to fix everything. We're gonna have to hit the button that puts the world back together, and hits the lights and the music as well, just for a good show.
Music is fantastic, by the way. I hope you can hear it alright in the stream, because it's one of my favorite video game soundtrack, to be honest. Oh, Quick taking a weird death here, but nothing major. Once again, you are going to die quite a lot, and it's not going to slow you down much, but you have to be careful with not dying again and again and again. It's very easy to die a couple of times before readjusting to and remembering exactly what you have to do. Time slip here is probably the room I hate the most, because those conveyors are so strong and those bugs move so quickly. It's so easy to die a lot of time, or just lose a lot by moving back and forth too. Oh, they clipped a little bit, but alright. It's the category is glitchless, but I think it's not good. I don't know. I'm not sure even they realized what happened, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I can't tell if they were genuinely confused or if they felt like they wanted to go back into that room to like try to do it again correctly, or like try to undo the fact that they just glitched there. But yeah, that is one of the things you can do is a very precise input to sort of flip while you're inside the line and get to the other side of it. I don't know the exact specifics of how it works, but it happens fairly frequently in that room because the line is so close to to the floor that you're standing on before you flip. So we'll see if anything happens to Fireman. As Quick is done now. Just one final run to this trinket and is off into outer space. Fireman dies on the little circles and rallies on the second time. It is dead heat with Cute Shadow here. Who is going to come out on top between the two of them? Cute Shadow runs into the spike. This is very common. That spike is there very quickly as soon as you transition. So you need to be thinking about that spike before you reach that screen. And if you're not thinking that way, then it's going to get you.
Fireman is on the final room here. The other scholar is pretty fast, and you have to be careful with the time of the final spike here. That's the one that killed them. Oh no! Okay, the checkpoint. I totally forgot that checkpoint was there, but it's okay, and they're done. It's I don't know. It's the first time I see someone dying on that room. Oh, and yeah, Fireman is one screen ahead of Cute Shadow.
Otherwise synchronized in like the position on the screen. Very, very well done. Remember, streams are not always completely synced, so we'll take a look. 18:23, 2 seconds ahead is Fireman. With maybe we would break the tie by number of flips, perhaps, if we needed to. that will not be the case.
Tied to the second. Yeah. If you are tied to the second after you adding up all your times and all your points, the number of flips would be a good way to decide who's the best. But do you need
what's better, more or less?
Yeah, that was my question. I don't know if you have to flip more or less. Yeah, like in scoring systems, the higher is the better. In low percent style, the lower is the better. I don't know. We'd have to, ask the public opinion, make a straw poll, ask your local politicians. I don't know.
Man, on the court, I think they don't have any strat for this room. They're just kind of going. I have a strategy for this room that always requires me waiting quite a bit for a cycle, but it's the one I found that works, and I don't want to change it. So I just accept I'm going to lose a second in that room, which is, less than Alnicore lost there, trying to just wing it. I think almost touches the block there, and is falling quite a bit here. Is going to have to do a whole nother lap, but is going to touch it. And it's very important not to die there. That's a couple screens in a row without a checkpoint, and some of them are pretty hard, so very common place to die and lose a lot of time.
That one where you put back the reality back together is very confusing, because you enter from the top and you have to flip to go back from where you were to go where you need to go. It's very confusing, and every single runner today have been like stunned for just half a second, not much, while Alnicore is stuck here on time slip once again. The worst room in the game, but here we go, moving on forward. And yes, as we said, the line here is so close, it's super easy to clip unintentionally. I think we're going to add up 5 seconds to Couple Quick's time. Not going to be much, but just to discourage people to go for clips that saves less than that, just as a fair measure. Or I know some players are going to be pretty angry with the no glitch rule if there's no way to enforce it.
Yeah, 5 seconds seems pretty fair. It's not going to save you more than that, certainly. So, yeah, that would work. I think it's pretty good stopgap. Sometimes it's tough to be. You try to think ahead and prepare for these things, but players will always surprise you. So, Alnicore is about to surprise us, perhaps with a PB in VVV. Needs to finish in about 33-ish seconds. I think there's like 10 or 15 leeway in terms of the difference between real time and in-game time. Some deaths here on the final challenge are going to make it pretty difficult. I want this to be a PB. Dying in a weird way on the screen here.
Yeah. Oh no, again! No. Wow, I said nobody dies on that screen, and that's exactly the commentary curse.
Wow, it's in his head.
Yep.
Oh.
Yep, they're stuck.
Come on now. All right. What is it? What is the time going to be? It's going to look like a 22:40 on screen. The in-game time is going to be less. I think it is. I think Alnicore has done it.
We'll see. Kishadow had just PB, by the way, and maybe...
Yes. Wow, by like 40 seconds, a PB for Alnicore.
All right.
That is a lot. I underestimated the difference between the in-game time and the real time. And the stream delay also, I think, was a bit of a factor. So very, very cool to get a PB in a tough game like VVV, especially because on your race card now, the two bars are the same length, and I just like that.
Yeah, it's mandatory. Double T5 is not going for PBs anymore because they have the perfect full blown play record, so they don't want to mismatch race PB and grind PB anymore, which is totally fair and totally reasonable. You stop grinding a speedrun you like just because of your UD play record. Totally reasonable behavior. I understand.
The times are in.
Times are
Fireman on top by 6 points, which is not a lot of a lead when you have a 20-point gap, at least, between you and your next two closest competitors, who are Kupikpik, who is 7 points ahead of Cute Shadow, who is a little bit better, just is 5 points ahead in terms of PB in our final game. So with 7 points separating the two, man, this is going to be a really close finish.
Yeah, Cute Shadow's PB on the Messenger is 5 points faster than Kupikpik. So if everybody gets PB, Kupikpik gets on top by 2 points. Cute Shadow is just behind them at 1990 points, and then Fireman is behind them 14 points behind. So we'll see how well that goes. But first off, the Messenger is a fantastic platformer, came out last year. Very smooth, it flows super quickly, music is great, humor is fantastic, and we're going to go for the 8 bits no out of bound category, meaning that we're going to play the first half of the game roughly, and nobody's allowed to intentionally clip out of bound, so we're going to see most of the level design.
Yeah, I do like that. The out of bounds stuff really does. I don't know. It's not like Mega Man goes out of bounds, but that's like kind of exciting to watch. And when you go out of bounds in this game, you just kind of like, I don't know, you jump at the corner and now I'm somewhere else, and then you can't really see what's going on. So, as a viewer, I do appreciate the no out of bounds category here. The 8-bit part is my favorite part of the game by far. So I'm super happy with this category in the UD, and super happy with this game. This is one of the games that is just the most fun to sit down and play. I mean, the first time also has like a pretty great impression in terms of the just the impact that this game hits you with, and the way it looks and sounds and stuff like that. The writing of some of the dialogue, it's all good, but just controlling your character, just moving, slashing, jumping, it feels great, and that is so key, I think, in making a game something I would want to speedrun for me and probably for many people. So the Messenger resonated with speedrunners when it came out last year, I think it was. Sometimes I forget just how long it's been, but I think it was last year.
6 months ago, yeah.
Yeah, so people latched onto this game. It's got a pretty big speedrun community for a game so new, especially for an indie game, and it's great. So it is also pretty long and pretty difficult. So we're seeing a big disparity in terms of PB here.
So 36, 58, 40, 56, 35, 48, and 44, 06. So yeah, indeed, about 10 minutes between Q-Shadow and Onlooker. Fireman is 5 minutes, entire minutes behind Q-Shadow, and that means that that's 25 points. So 5 minutes per 5 points per minute. You don't want to lose too much, and it's going to be hard for Fireman to leverage their 13 points they have compared to Q-Shadow. So we'll see how well that goes. We are 3 hours, 4 hours of speedrunning for those 4 players. So obviously they're maybe getting tired. It's the Messenger is a rough game, a long game, and you absolutely want to go as deathless as possible, but because compared to VVV, deaths in the Messenger cost you a lot and drain you emotionally a little bit. Hopefully
not too big a factor for our players today. It definitely has to be a factor, at least a little bit. This is a lot of video games, and it's hard to. It can't be understated how difficult it really is to maintain such a high level of focus. If you were just playing the same thing over and over, your brain kind of gets used to doing that thing, and it's not so taxing to do it for 4 hours, even though it is still a little bit. But constantly switching and readapting to all these games, it really does take it out of you. So the biggest, longest, most difficult, meaty game perhaps has been saved for last, and that is maybe going to be their greatest test. We'll see. The ninjas are tired of just sitting around waiting. They've been charged with sort of guarding and delivering a message. They are a messenger, but they have no message to send currently. They're waiting for someone. So for now, we can get some training on how to cloud step. This is the main mechanic in this game. By slashing an enemy or many of these background objects like these lanterns, you can see this little smoke of air, a little cloud, I suppose, it's in the name. Appears beneath your feet, and that indicates that you can jump in midair. So you can chain that together, jump slash, and jump forever, as long as you have something to slash. And it really does give you a ton of movement options in the air. and is honestly it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to do it.
Yeah, in the level design, the game gives you tons of stuff to cloud step off, enemies, lanterns, projectiles, all around. You can just a lot of screens cross without touching the ground. Even but it doesn't feel like you have infinite jumping ability. You have to find something to slash and to execute on properly. So it just puts a high skill ceiling onto you, and the speedrunners have found countless ways to cross certain screens flawlessly and smoothly, especially the vertical ones. You have some very, very nice looking strats, just chaining the enemies and your movements all together. You also have very, very tight and difficult skips. Using timed projectiles that comes off screen, and you have to jump exactly at the correct time. But very nice sync between Cute Shadow, Quick, and Fireman. Onlyker is a little bit behind, but that's due to stream delay. And the game loads differently for everyone, so obviously we're going to time that in-game time. So if someone has longer loads, it's not going to matter at all.
Yeah, the loads are pretty minor, but they do add up to a couple seconds. Yikes. He is down to 1 health, but he is alive. There's a couple damage boosts you can do here in this first section, and they're pretty risky. I wasn't sure, exactly what kind of strats I was going to see from some of these players. Some of these PBs, particularly Cute Shadow and Quick, have some really strong PBs, under 37, under 36 minutes. So you really need to start going for some of that aggressive stuff if you want to get a time like that.
Yeah, 36 is where you now have to not die, plus put on some of the skips, and then it's one of those games where even if you go as deathless as possible, and all the skips, you still are going to lose time to minor optimization movements and just overall moving better and being just more efficient at the game. But still, there's a lot to save just with all your movement and the tricks you go for. So Kichado is probably going to go for all of that, and Quick as well maybe, and Fireman is going to lose time overall everywhere compared to those players, but mostly boss fights and certain skips. So we'll see. Kichado doing a great job at the start of the game, going for everything here. First level is not too difficult, but the difficulty curve is pretty flat until you get the grappling hook, and then it gets crazy.
Onlyker in a bit of an awkward situation, didn't kill the little blue guy, and ended up actually pegging him from downtown. Michael Jordan there with the accurate shot has put him down to 1 health here, which is not so bad here. There is a health upgrade, or not upgrade, but refill right there. Is going to opt to pick it up, even though it's not too unreasonable to expect to get through the rest of the section without getting hit. We'll keep an eye and see if they are indeed able to do that. Quick is going to grab that health on the way up this series of jumps on this tree platform. One of the rare sections where instead of cloud stepping, you want to be landing and jumping off of whatever you land on. It means that you have that classic speedrun optimization to make of holding the jump button only as long as necessary to reach the next platform, and then releasing it and repressing it as soon as possible in order to jump again. You'd be surprised how many frames and then quickly seconds you lose in these situations by not jumping perfectly.
Nice decision of Fireman not getting the skips they wanted here, and instead of going for the normal strat, just quickly resetting your screen by leaving and re-entering, still saving them time. So moving on quickly. But already Kichado and Quick have about an entire screen of a lead here. Kichado leads the way, moving on, and actually Kichado died considering they have Kazimoto following them here. So that's surprising. I don't know exactly what happened, but this come quickly. You lose a lot of health, and you only come back with 3 health each time you pass a checkpoint. So it's easy to die, and Quick is entering the boss fight, and everybody else is in sync on that vertical screen here.
That is really fun to see everyone do that at the same time. Onaker doing it just a little bit slower and not quite doing so well on the following screen. Hesitating a little bit. You can just straight up jump from one platform to the next. I don't know. It's pretty rare, I think, that you just do one single jump in this game. That I think even if you've played it a lot, you still don't have a very good handle on exactly how high and far you can jump with just one jump. So that screen does trip up some players sometimes. Looks like we're going to get not a quick kill from Tripuik. Cute Shadow is going to get it.
Nice.
Fireman not.
Oh,
On the court, big chance to catch up. Also not going to get it. Only one quick kill among 4.
Tripuik did fail it as well. That's surprising. One of the reasons why you would not get the quick kill would be because once you start hitting the boss, he's going to be pushed backwards, and you want to keep on moving towards him while slashing and not stop or pose for your shurikens quite yet. So yeah, it's hard to practice, sadly, because if you do kill the boss, well, it's dead, and you have to start up the game all over from the beginning just to be able to practice the boss. So not so easy, but we've seen a lot of success on that one. Careful here, Cute Shadow is moving through, taking intentional damage boost. Oh, and should not go for the
not
skip
so
here.
intentional.
Yeah.
That time, and wisely realized they were not going to be able to make the cycle on the platform. Tripuik in a similar situation. The damage boosts were really smooth, actually. It's very tough to get through that section cleanly, and if you mess up, there's spikes there. They will probably kill you in that situation. They do 3 damage out of your 5 health. If you're coming off of a checkpoint, then you probably only have the 3 health. So very scary room. Handled mostly pretty well by Cute Shadow. Got past the tough stuff and then tripped up by something relatively easy afterwards.
Alright, sadly, Cute Shadow dying means that all the lead they can build on the Messenger to pass Tripuik and also Fireman, maybe in an easier fashion. We'll see how well that go for them. I'm a bit worried, though. They're still ahead of Tripuik, and Fireman has quite a little bit of a ways back here, but still moving on.
A bit slow, so had to rely on a cloud step rather than running on the platform. It's one of those fun situations in games where if a platform is moving forwards, you want to land on it as soon as possible and then run along it, and it will still be carrying you, so you kind of get like double speed. And then the opposite, of course, if the platform is moving away from you. So we're losing out on just like a couple frames or whatever, which I like to point out that fun mechanic whenever I can, because it seems like, the platform's the platform, what does it matter? But you do get a bit of extra speed running along a moving platform. Holding on to the lead is Crew. Oh, death for Fireman getting squished here. How far back is the checkpoint from here? Either case, it is a death that is going to introduce this cutscene where Corbel shows up. A little bit of extra time lost, bit of salt in the wound.
The Catacombs is one of the hardest levels to start because of those crushers. It's so easy to die in one hit. And if you try to go too quickly, you can make those cycles, but if you're just too slow, but you can make it, it can be pretty hard to get the correct tempo out of those, and dying is sadly costs a lot. Cute Shadow takes a weird hit there. I think it shows a little bit that the players have played 9 games before that. We've seen a lot of consistency and good execution from those runners when they play the Messenger, and right now maybe 10 games in a row is taxing even for those experienced runners.
Moving pretty cleanly. It is actually taking a hit here on this vertical section downwards, which is quite a bit harder than upwards in most situations, but having to repeatedly press... Oh, he's going for this damage boost? Okay. Or not damage boost, rather, but cycle skip was Cute Shadow. Very, very close. You need to be able to be confident that you went through the screen fast enough in order to make that cycle, because that thing is not going to be moving. It's going to be still when it comes on screen, so you're not going to be able to judge where it is on its cycle compared to where you are. So you only have to go by pure experience on how that room went for you. And it's pretty common to see players who pull it off, not go for it because they get kind of cold feet or whatever. But Cute Shadow did go for it, did get it, has joined Kerpwik in the boss fight. And they're both pretty close here. Unfavorable RNG for Cute Shadow and favorable for Kerpwik, but not able to capitalize on it. Is going to try to follow these fireballs backwards and is kind of maybe going to get up. Not really.
Oh, and forgot that the following pattern was to land on the platform here. Last time we've seen Kerpwik on the Messenger, they also had the correct pattern and did not get the correct movement here, so I don't know, maybe a lack of practice, but you also have to know that first you take an intentional hit and then you cloud step out of those fireball. It's pretty hard to do, and it's okay, but it costs so much time. The boss fights is one of the ways to save a lot or to lose a lot, considering Kerpwik has only 1 HP left. They're going to place it super safe and lose even more time. Meanwhile, Fireman died again, and finally they get to the boss.
Yeah, this has not been a good run for Fireman. A couple of weird deaths there. And it's becoming a not good run for Kerpwik. That one boss fight was so bad in terms of time lost. It's really difficult to get the cloud steps off of those fireballs and get up there, and it makes such a huge difference in this fight. So if you miss it, then whatever. But then the failure to capitalize on everything that happened afterwards, which clearly came because they were flustered from missing the initial skip. That boss fight just kind of spiraled out of control. But putting that behind now, you got total new scenery with some jammin' bass going on here in the Bamboo Creek. Should be a good opportunity to reset. Fireman with a very quick kill on this boss is going to be exactly what they need to catch up or hold on to their lead in this game. But Cute Shadow is flying through the Bamboo Creek here and is close enough in points in order to make it happen in the final game here.
Yeah, they have very little to save compared to Fireman and Kerpwik. Well, very little considering how long the game is. They still have to make at least a good minute and a half of the lead, but they're moving quickly. Oh, not getting here, but whoa, nice recovery. They're going to try again and not getting again.
Oh no!
Wow, that's, I don't know. I like how. I like their efficiency and their decision of going for the skip again, but not getting cold feet and maybe realizing that something is not quite right, and they go for it again but finally get it. The jump is not too hard, but it's just that if you fail you're going to die, as demonstrated here. So it's one of those risk-reward situation when we're asserting the risk. It can be pretty difficult.
Kerpwik is now extremely close to Cute Shadow. Fireman still trails by a little bit, made up a lot of ground off of that boss fight, but had plenty to make up after the deaths in the catacombs. Some crazy skips going on in this room. Cute Shadow is going to get this one. Very important. Kerpwik is going to ride this platform a little bit. You have an opportunity to cloud step off of these projectiles that these guys are throwing, but opted not to do that and is going for the skip as well. Is going to get it. Nice try. First try there for both Kerpwik and Cute Shadow. And now a very vertical room here that's handled pretty well by Cute Shadow. Kerpwik takes a hit but recovers in the air.
Nice movement by Cute Shadow in those rooms. You can kind of double cloud step of the lanterns. If you get a hit slash first time, you're getting your double jump, and if you use that double jump, that cloud step, while slashing at the same time, you will gain a lot of vertical height due to your first jump, but also recover your cloud step, getting a lot of height and being able to skip the entire intentional route, which is to actually slowly raise the platform here. So nicely done by Cute Shadow overall. Everybody knows exactly how to do that. Fireman having a lot of trouble here on the Messenger, on a lot of skips. They know the skip exists, they try to go for it, but are not quite able to execute on it quite as well as they want to, obviously. And they're still in Bamboo Creek, while Cute Shadows and Kerpwik are buying their wingsuit here.
Fireman dies after struggling with that screen. Thankfully, the checkpoint is in the middle of the screen at the top there, so not losing too much time, and not being punished too hard for that mistake. But yeah, he clearly didn't even know the correct backups afterwards, so it was kind of an all or nothing situation for Fireman, and ended up with well, not all. So is still from behind here, has a bit of a lead coming into this game by about 7 points over Kerpikweek, 14 or so over Cute Shadow. It's not over yet. He needs to tighten up and not let this gap grow any bigger, which I think he's capable of. Fireman is a really, really strong player, has a lot of experience, and the PB doesn't necessarily always tell the story. So for now, Cute Shadow and Kerpikweek racing through the Howling Caverns here with the new wingsuit upgrade, as well as the wingsuit slash, which opens up all kinds of new options.
So if you press A, you jump. If you repress A now, you have the wingsuit allowing you to hover, to float, and cross bigger gaps. But if you attack while you're hovering with the wingsuit, you'll have down slash. Will give you obviously the cloud step plus a tiny boost vertically, and it's going to allow for crazy skips and movement used all around. So it's one of the mandatory upgrades that saves a lot of time, and that's why all the players were super careful with their money count. Shadow died a lot and actually took a detour at the end of the Bamboo's Creek, hitting a big crystal just to be able to have enough money to do so. So the wingsuit is super useful, and it has the advantage of not slowing you down horizontally, so it's not a problem to use it at all, and it gives it all around, just gives you more control and allows for nice skips and movement, so it's very, very useful.
Also lets you do just a bunch of backflips for no reason if you feel like it, so very important quality of life change there. But yeah, being able to attack downwards actually is a big difference in terms of your ability to get cloud steps off of things. And it seems like, well, why not just stop using the wingsuit slash and then use the wingsuit again? You could do that. It's a difficult set of inputs, but you could. But being able to just change the angle of your attack just means so much in terms of what you're able to do. Moving on to the boss fight here. We're going to be looking for 7 hits on the core, then getting to the edge of the screen and using a shuriken to get the 8th. This gives you extra time to ride the air currents and deal extra damage to the boss. And if you do this twice, this is how you can get the 2 cycle, but you need to be pretty careful counting your hits here. I think 2 shurikens is required. Yeah, Cute Shadow was totally fine using 2 of their 3 shurikens there. Just means they need to make sure they use their last one correctly. No room for errors here.
7 slashes, go to the side, use a shuriken, movement vertically here. The fact that you hit the hit with your shuriken allows you to be exactly on the winds streams, so you can use the wingsuit as early as possible. And it's the only way to get the 2 cycles. The 2 cycles is not so hard once you know how to count to 8, which sometimes you can be a little bit too slash happy and deal 1 extra slash and sadly miss it. But usually it goes smoothly. And the second phase though is not so easy. Dealing damage quickly to the orb, it can be tricky considering the movement. Wow, quick kills it super quick here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was kind of impressed with the way Cute Shadow handled that fight. Not as well as Kerpikweek in terms of time, but didn't get all the hits at the start, but was able to use the shurikens. There's a bunch of shuriken refills floating around the stage, and usually they're kind of out of the way. You don't really think about them too much, but the boss was away from Cute Shadow, out of reach, and the shurikens were there. So Cute Shadow nabbed up a whole bunch of them and hit I think 4 shurikens in that fight, which is pretty incredible to do that 4 times and have all those counts be very meaningful. So hats off on that nice recovery from Cute Shadow, holding the lead heading into Quillshroom Marsh. We get the music from the video that is maybe my favorite. I think probably Bamboo Creek's probably my favorite, but lots of good music in this game. Fireman in the boss fight now. I think that was 7 hits right there. So 1 shuriken is going to get off to a great start in this fight.
Alright, so that's the first section, this first set of hits. You don't want to stay too long because taking hits can, make it for a very scary second. Oh, nope. Oh.
What? No, the projectile ate up the shuriken.
I didn't know that was possible. Wow, that's going to make it for the 2 cycles impossible, I think. Yep.
Probably.
And sadly, that means that with only 2 HP, it's going to be a little bit risky here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Waiting here. 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we go. And moving onward, I'm going to be able to kill the boss here. Well, the first phase. Meanwhile, Onlooker is doing pretty much the same thing. Waiting for the second phase to happen here. And Fireman is going to try to kill the boss here, not taking too many damage. It's pretty easy to get hit, so they're going to be playing super safe.
Leveraging the shurikens, I like it. It's tempting. It's very often that you are above the boss, so it's very tempting to use the wingsuit slash, but you bounce off of something when you use the wingsuit slash, and in the air current, it sends you flying off the top of the screen, so you get your 1 hit, but then you're not going to get any more for a little bit while you regain control of yourself, so generally not an option you want to use on the boss. If you're careful in counting, you can go for your last hit that way, but Fireman lost a bit of time there. Onlooker also tracking down the boss, really low on health, was able to get a kill with the shuriken as well. All the players doing a good job of using those shurikens, if they have to. You can also just be quick and obliterate the boss before anything happens. That's also a very good approach.
A good possibility for anyone try to be quick. Meanwhile, Cute Shadow, taking their time here. It's easy to go too fast and take those spikes to the face, so I like it. That's a mistake I've done and seen players do. And they get to the boss super quickly here. The Quillshroom Marsh is a long wall, but they've done a good job at making it past it. Taking their time, floating up and getting a shuriken to knock the boss down, skipping the first phase. Now, if they're fast enough with their damage, they will be able to skip the entirety of the flower spawning attack that takes a lot of time from the boss. So the players also keep 1 shuriken. You know that once the boss go up there, only 1 hit will kill them. So you go towards the door, and the shuriken does it. Sadly, Cute Shadow died, so they have 1 extra dialogue here with Quabble appearing here. But finally, they leave the Quillshroom Marsh. Just a little bit faster than Quick, not much though.
Yeah, Quick lost time there, having to deal with the flower spawning phase. Has done enough damage to move on to the final phase of the fight now. Didn't quite get over the quills, but you do get to get more damage in that way. Oh, it does have to deal with another phase of these flowers. They will spawn these towers of increasing height that let you cloud step up there. Is absolutely going to be able to finish off this fight now. I think we do need to wait for the jump up to the middle. Yeah, there we go.
Nicely done, Quick. With the kill 24 minutes in, so we're looking at a solid time. Can aim for a 37 or 38 depending on what's coming up next. Their PB is 37 minutes, so that's pretty normal. And Cute Shadow just got the grappling hook, so now the game gets super crazy. You want to optimize all your movement using the grappling hook as much as possible and as early as possible to grapple onto all the things. So you can grapple onto enemies, lanterns, some projectiles, but not all of them. And it just means that you have so much more to do and to think about all the time. So the Crags is a difficult, very difficult level to optimize. So is the Glacial Peak.
I think I lost the feed on my end. Is it still okay on yours?
It's moving very
It's weird. It's like someone is frame advancing through an emulator.
Exactly. I don't know what's happening.
Sure.
But the players are
Weird.
all playing at the correct speed. We just are having difficulties getting the frames, so we can analyze frame by frame the movement of the players.
That's right. No, it's a slow motion replay here of this perfectly executed hookshot jump here from Cute Shadow moving on to the next screen. Everyone is in a mostly unremarkable situation that you would not want to actually watch in slow mo. So that is unfortunate.
Slashing a fireball slowly and Cute Shadow dropping. I don't know what's happening, to be honest, but you can see here Cute Shadow actually grappling just for a few inches here, and that's actually saves time. If they can drop fast enough, you can see them actually having trouble. At that pace, it's going to be very hard to finish the stream on time, so I do hope all of Speed Gaming schedule clears up so we can take the next 5 hours contemplating all of the single frames on the messenger. So you can see all the different movement possible. On Allnooker is running, on Cute Shadow screen is dropping, on Fireman's screen is jumping, and on Kapuku screen is rolling. It's perfect.
Yeah, this is Stanley Kubrick mode has been activated. Every frame a painting worth taking a look at here. This one in particular is probably the most worth looking at. We can talk about. There were some questions about what the heck am I looking at? This is the Ultime Decathlon. When it works, it's a really great thing. It is 10 games. Ghost Death was explaining in chat a little bit, but these 10 games of a wide variety of genres and types of game are picked out to be the 10 games of the decathlon, and then the community of people just play them, speedrun them, race them, learn them, compete in events all throughout the week. There are achievements that come out every week that give you something to aim towards, that sometimes directly are about speedrunning, get this quick kill or something, or sometimes it's related to the game, but do the other tracks in Trackmania or something, right? Just things to get people playing the game and having fun. And it all culminates in the grand finals, which is going to happen live in France, May, I've already forgotten, 13th, 15th, something like that.
17th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. 17th is going to be pre-show just to warm up. 18th is going to be some semi-finals with 8 players, and 19th the finals with the 4 best.
Yeah, so this is the event that everyone is hoping to qualify for here today. These 4 players are unable to race on Saturday, which is where most of the racers will be racing. But they could race today, and we've been doing broadcasts on Wednesday pretty regularly, so this will be our Wednesday broadcast, is these 4 players taking their shot at trying to qualify. It is a super, super fun, wonderful event with a great community that I wish I could show you right now. But we'll get this sorted out in a little bit, I'm sure. I'm positive that the players are still racing, so they're not going to be interrupted in any way, which is good for them, bad for us, because we're going to miss most of Searing Crags, I think, for most of these players. But that's fine. This is, sometimes this happens.
It sets the base for the for what's going to happen on Saturday. So Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to come back with all the other runners, and it went well for Fireman, Kapuku, and Cute Shadow. Overall, they are going to have lots of trouble to stay on top 6 if they want to qualify already for the finals. So very good Mega Man, Rack, and Neo Turf Master for Fireman. Add to that a good Trackmania, and for Kapukwik, a very good Minute, and Out There Somewhere for Cute Shadow. So overall, the players didn't have huge setbacks. Maybe the biggest one would be arguably actually Rack, because you still have so much to save, even compared to Fireman's run. Kirby was not so fantastic, but it's hard to have a very good Kirby in a race, to be honest. So was Lawnmower. So I don't know who's going to be there on Saturday. You can expect Devil Tifa and Taker and maybe Soggy Toast. I saw them in chat practicing. So the pace is going to be hard to keep up with. Mollyman, Stifler are going to be there, so is Ghostess. I don't know if Lilia or Sablier are going to be able to join us. Slinks and KTH completes the top 10, and top 10 in the UD is above 2020 points. So I guess those are runners that can put in 200 average per game in races, and it's going to be very hard for Fireman, Kaopupuk, and Kuchedo to compete with that.
Yeah, they I think they could get there, later on in the season. I think right now, and a bit more work needs to be done, just because so many people have done so much more work in producing fantastic times, not only on the leaderboard, but also throughout the various races. If you want to see the leaderboard, you can type in UD7 and go to ultimate-decathlon.com/en. If you're listening to me speak in English, probably you want to look at the website in English, so /en/ will get you that. You can just check out the leaderboard. Videos of everyone's run is there. There's a tab for live. For anyone who is live playing one of the Ultimate Decathlon games will show up there, so you can tune in, cheer them on. Many players are French, but many also speak English. There's a very, very large French-speaking core here in the Ultimate Decathlon community. They've kind of branched out through these speed gaming streams in order to reach a new audience. So if you have just been reached, welcome. This is a really cool thing that I'm really happy to be able to show everyone.
All right, so our broadcaster internet has died, so we are going to switch setups. Is going to take 30 more seconds. I hope not more than that, because I really want to see what's going to happen in at least our Tower of Time for our players, and it's been an interesting evening, and all those runners have been doing their best, and sadly missing out in the very end here is pretty disappointing, but I hope it's going to come back quickly.
I'm trying to see if I can pull up the players' feeds directly. I'm just going to try this and see if it works. We are seeing some movement on stream.
Yep, Fireman is apparently no, I don't know what's happening. All right, here we go. Kaopupuk is in Tower of Time. It's coming back. I don't know if we're going to have the other players' feed, but hopefully we are. So Tower of Time is a very straight series of room. It's very hard to navigate, and you don't have much opportunities to be creative with your movement. You just have to execute on exactly what's offered to you. Those mages are a pain, and eventually their random movement is going to cost you a lot of time. Fireman, Q-Shadows, and Allknocker's feed should come any second now. Q-Shadow is maybe already done, to be honest.
Yeah, it's totally possible. I guess we can keep an eye on the Discord for someone to submit their time. But yeah, the Tower time is mostly done here. We can see Allknocker is in it's just fallen to their death actually in the Glacial Peak. I believe that's kind of far away from a checkpoint. Yeah, so that was really not a good death to take here on the Glacial Peak. Many pits all throughout, but lots of opportunities to use your cloud step to do some really fun things in this level. So it is quite fun to speedrun once you're kind of in the flow and everything is going well. It all can come to a crashing halt in many rooms, though. Very often do you find yourself without a floor. Damage boost for Kaopupuk getting all the way through the lasers. They do 4 damage, so you need to make sure that you are quite healthy before you attempt such a dangerous maneuver. We can see Fireman now also is neck and neck with Allknocker on the Glacial Peak. And Q-Shadow has not finished the game yet, is just ahead of Kaopupuk heading to the final boss of the goal, that is.
Yep, Kitcha, the final golem is not so hard if you can do properly execute on the grappling hook slash ways of doing things. So the grappling hook gives you infinite almost iframes. If you chain it properly, you can just keep on doing that, and you can not take any damage. That's exactly what Cute Shadow is doing. So the boss eventually will clap, making you fall down. But if you are back there fast enough, you will not fall, and you will deal enough damage to deal with the boss super quickly, and not a problem for Cute Shadow. The boss should be dead any second now.
There it is. Cute Shadow is going to finish. I'm not sure what their final time will be. They will submit it and will add it to the leaderboard. Will add it to their previous 9 scores for the 9 other games. Nice job by Kerpookwig taking out that projectile mid-swing on the platform. If he got hit by that, he'd probably get knocked off and then be trapped in the middle, which is almost certainly a death sentence. I suppose you could wait for the platform and try to jump on it, but it's pretty tricky because it's moving really fast at that point, and the wizards are there to give you trouble. Would have been really bad, so really good job. Heads up play there. We will try to fix the sound. But a number of crazy things have just happened, so we will do our best. So please bear with us. This is the final game. We're just about done here. We're going to find out which of these 4 players is going to come out on top for now, and we can speculate perhaps on how their scores might line up against any of the other players who come to play out on Saturday.
I'm a bit surprised still with Fireman being so far behind, tied with Olnuker here. I don't know exactly what the timer is like. Obviously, switching setups like that. Kontos that took the responsibility of restreaming the rest after Shamut intern died, did not could not synchronize the timer. So. I don't know. It's just a guessing game at that point, and Cute Shadow got a 36-12 though, so that's a very, very good time. Considering how much they died, that means they have so much room of improvement, and they could PB by over a minute, I guess, just by brute forcing, grinding a little bit the messenger.
All right, Kerpookwig has found the rhythm there with the rope dart, using that to get the invincibility frames off of the attack, and using that to stay up high on the boss, not getting hit by those rotating projectiles. I think he's going to need one more series of hits here. Yeah, just actually literally one more hit to finish off the boss. Very well done executing on that final boss fight.
All right, the real question now is going to be, is Fireman's lead enough to stay on top there? Did Kerpookwig just pass Cute Shadow or not? I don't know. I think the gap between the two was 2 points. That's 24 seconds, so probably Cute Shadow did pass Kerpookwig just with the messenger. Oh no, Fireman getting hit, then crushed, and had to start all the way back here. That's one of the rooms that kill a lot of the players. Fireman is dying again quickly here. You have to stay focused, even at the end of the 10th game. Putting the messenger right at the end, being the longer game, is maybe very mean to the players, but they're moving on through the messenger as best that they can. The order is especially bad for Fireman, considering the messenger is one of the hardest and the worst game.
Yeah, I don't know if it's if you play your worst game and it goes bad as you might expect because it's your worst game, that puts you mentally in a bad place. But if you were to do pretty good on your worst game, you might feel pretty confident about the rest of the game. So it's hard to say how the psychology of each individual runner would come into play here, but it certainly is tough to play this game last after all those other games. You're so tired, and just having to focus so much for so long. It becomes pretty difficult, I think, to play a game as fast-paced, requiring as many inputs as this game does. Your hands are kind of all over the place. You're constantly jumping, attacking, and rope darting, as well as the wingsuit is hold as well as a press. So but those four things you're doing constantly all over the place, and so even just having your mind tell your fingers to press the right buttons starts to become pretty taxing over these 35-40 minutes.
This is the end of the Tower of Time, but that area did cost Fireman a lot of time here. So we are almost done with the category, and I think that Cute Shadow is going to take the lead actually with a very good Dem Messenger, and being able to keep on going as fast as they can, even compared to PB throughout those 10 games. The UD7 is made of easy and shorter games compared to some of the previous season, but still playing all of them back to back, considering how optimized those speedruns are, is very intense. And congrats to any players that can do all 10 games at a high level like that. Onlooker, Quick, Cute Shadow, and Fireman putting a very good show tonight.
It's just about over for Fireman, going through one of the last sequences here in the Tower of Time. And that room is there's a little bit of a skip there, but skip aside, that room is just kind of weirdly tense with the lasers there constantly, and you can't attack immediately after coming off the crystal, so you need to wait just a little bit, and just anticipating that input, that whole ride through the pipes or whatever is happening there, I find very nerve-wracking. So in addition to it being the big finale to the level, with the music is like really serious and intense and kind of moody in a way that the rest of the soundtrack is not. It can kind of get to you, but it all culminates in this final boss fight. Fireman just a little bit ahead of On the Curve, both of them very close together. Let's see how this goes.
All right, so getting on the hand and doing the grapple and hit successfully. Fireman stay up there nicely. You can see that you're on top of the pink projectiles, and still you don't take a hit. One hit taken like here by Fireman, grappling a little bit too late and keeping on going. Same thing for Onlooker, doing a great job. Onlooker is on a good PB pace, I think, and Fireman is done. Onlooker should follow very shortly. No, they fall down. That's going to cost so much time, but they fell down exactly at the correct time. So the boss was actually giving the pattern that normally allows you to climb up and hit the boss. So very nicely done. A couple of final hits, and Onlooker should sign up a nice PB. I think they're still there on pace.
Has now gotten into the flow, is going to need just a little more damages out of shurikens through a couple of those to get their last few hits, but that is going to wrap it up for Onlooker. Indeed, going to wrap it up for all the players competing today. Our final game, Fireman posting, he is so tired, and I can feel it. I haven't been playing, but even just talking about these games for 4.5 hours is a little bit taxing on my end. Your prediction is correct. Cute Shadow has passed Quick just 4 points
not
ahead.
Much. I'm surprised. So I really would have said more than that. 4 points. Cute Shadow taking the first place with 1969. So that's over 2 points over their grind PB. So their best time over on all 10 games added up, the sum was 1967. And just in race like that, they put in a 1969. What's happening with that player? I don't know, but they're super consistent, and they practiced in a way that make them get super good results in races and even in all 10 games in a row.
Yeah, this 1969, I'm honestly not sure what to expect from all of the top players. Certainly their PBs are 100, sometimes even pushing 200 points ahead of this, but you cannot expect to get those times in races. And some of those games are like the really hyper optimized games where you're not going to get 5 minutes in Lawnmower. It's just not going to happen. So those times come down to probably pretty close to this Cute Shadow time. We were talking about it was going to be very, very hard to try to crack top 6 against all the best who are going to come out on Saturday. But 1969, 1965, I think it's there. It's raising the bar um, to a level that I'm not sure everyone is going to be able to meet on Saturday. This is a fantastic performance from Kurt Shadow and Capric Fireman, very close as well. And Alnicore, I think their total PB is an 1841, so just 40, 50 points ish back off of their PB across all 10 games is still a very strong performance. This has been fantastic. This whole tournament.
Yeah, it's been a hectic technical experience. I'm sorry, and we're going to improve on that for Saturday. But it's good. It's been a good first time doing all 10 games and commentating on all 10 games in a row. We'll see on Saturday what's going to happen at 1 p.m. EST. So all the other runners that are available are going to join all 4 players here. We're going to have one giant leaderboard, and we're going to see how well Cute Shadow, Quick, and Fireman end up on the leaderboard. Top 6 will qualify for the grand final directly, and yeah, it's been very fun. In 20 minutes, we're going to have Magic the Gathering, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That is, I was going to say a new thing, but I guess it's like 7 weeks or something we've been doing this. On Wednesday nights, Eastern Time, some speedrunners get together, they form Team Instant Speed, and they play some Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering recently got, maybe not so recently, but they got a sort of a new online client called Arena, which is, it's got some fancy spell effects, and it's fun to watch. So it's got a lot of people back into Magic, and some speedrunners were interested in doing just that. So we've put together a little competition. They play each other. I think they probably still do the thing where they cooperatively draft and play through the draft. So if you're interested in Magic the Gathering and you like speedrunning, this is a good way to check that out. It's coming up in about 15 minutes right here on twitch.tv/speedgaming. But also tonight, we've got Zelda 1 Randomizer, Super Metroid Prodigy Tournament, which is a cool tournament featuring only up-and-coming runners who have a time below 50 minutes. So you're going to see a different level of play, different style of play. Wind Waker Randomizer, A Link to the Past Randomizer, Zelda 1 Randomizer. We've got all your rando, as well as the lovely Magic the Gathering happening in just 15 minutes here. It all happens in 15 minutes. There's some stuff ongoing. You can catch the end of maybe a Kirby's Dream Land match or the A Link to the Past Randomizer League. Les French Canadians versus Team Awesome. I know who I'm rooting for.
Yeah, me too.
But that's all happening on the Speed Gaming Network. !schedule is what you can type to see that stuff, as well as anything that's going to happen tomorrow, Friday, Saturday. I mean, it's not quite on there yet. Some stuff is on there, but that's how you can find out what's going on Speed Gaming, because there's always tons of great stuff happening. And hopefully you'll come back for some more great stuff happening Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. We will see the rest of the Ultimate Decathlon players come out and try to qualify for grand finals.